My entitled homeless sister literally destroys my relationship by sleeping with my boyfriend. But after she got pregnant with his baby and he walked out on her life, her entire situation went downhill fast, as she eventually became homeless and showed up at my job demanding that I let her move in, putting me in a situation that I never expected to be in because this is honestly super messy. Welcome back to Am I the Jerk, ladies and gentlemen, the only show on the internet where yes, your sibling can ruin your relationship and still somehow think they're entitled to you letting them move in. This first story, man, it is a wild ride, so get ready for this one. So subscribe to Am I the Jerk if you haven't already, hit the bell to turn on notifications, and with that, let's get started. Okay, so my sister and I were close growing up until my senior year of high school. She eventually made some questionable friends and became questionable herself. She would sneak out and get drunk, or sneak out and toilet paper houses. She even messed with a few cars as well. She became unpleasant to be around, and after her best friend since kindergarten ended their friendship, this is really when it all started to go downhill because she treated her like dog crap. Eventually, our relationship also became pretty bad because she would try to pin all the stuff she was doing on me, and she would yell and cuss me out, all because I refused to find a way to sneak her and her new friends alcohol, and because I wouldn't take her to senior parties with me. There was even one time I got home from a party and she had my room all completely messed up. Now, we didn't speak for 3 whole years after I left for college, but after 3 years, she finally calmed down and we reconnected. It was never the same, mind you, but she did apologize for all the stuff that she did, and I thought that maybe she had grown up. In fact, for a few years, we were okay, but then she started to get toxic again, and eventually I found out she was sleeping with my boyfriend of 5 years. Well, I broke up with him, and I told her to remove herself from my life for good. Our parents were distraught because they wanted to believe that she had stopped messing up like that, but eventually it got worse when we found out she was pregnant with my ex's baby, and she was really blaming me for him bailing and leaving no trace of himself anywhere for her to find. Now, I refused to get involved and I just left her to her own devices. And yet, even through this, she still had no problem blaming me for a solid year. She even contacted friends of mine to spread this awful garbage around about me. Well, a month ago, she was kicked out of her place, and now she and her 2-year-old kid are homeless. She then showed up at my job and asked me to let her move in, but I told her no. She told me I need to get out of the shelter, but I just told her, hey, you need to start over with our parents' help and go home. She then got in touch with my parents, who have been furious with me ever since, but I told them, hey, stay mad, but I would not help her out after everything she's done to me. They asked about the 2-year-old, and I told them, well, the 2-year-old is my sister's problem, not mine, and that she could take my advice if she cared so much. Now, my parents have taken her in, but even so, they are furious that I wouldn't help her temporarily so that they weren't in a shelter. I've been ignoring their calls for a week now because it's just the same old thing. I don't know if my relationship with my parents can survive or even recover from this, and honestly, I'm not even sure if it's a terrible thing considering they were okay with me being taken advantage of and all that crap. But I'm seriously sad about it, and I'm looking for advice because this sucks, and I still love them despite the conflict over my sister. What should I do? Okay, dude, your sister is a train wreck. Holy crap. She literally slept with your boyfriend and then got pregnant and just completely destroyed your relationship, and then has the audacity to show up and be like, let me move in. No, dude, stay out of here, homeless lady. At this point, that's all you are. And sure, you feel bad for the 2-year-old, but that's not your fault. That's your sister's fault. You're not responsible for the crap she's doing. She's the one that chose to sleep around with your boyfriend. You obviously didn't make that decision for her. That falls in her corner and nobody else. And you know what? I guarantee you, seriously mark my words on this, I guarantee you the parents here are only pissed off because they're like, wait, we have to take her back in? They absolutely wanted to saddle you with this responsibility and not them. That's why they're pissed off at you. They're mad that they have to deal with it. And that is so toxic. Dude, I would be so upset over that. Because they don't care. They're not looking at this from the lens of oh, we need to take care of our daughter. They're seeing this as, oh man, we could have got our other daughter to deal with this, but now we have to deal with it. And it's dude, what do you want me to do about it? I've got nothing to do with her life. I didn't do this to her. She did it to herself. What in the world? Plus, we're not even on good terms, dude. If I had a brother who slept with my girlfriend and got her pregnant, I'd be livid. I would be so pissed off because not only did you ruin my relationship, but you also just completely detonated any relationship we would have as siblings. So yeah, this is absolutely not your fault. You have no reason to get involved in my opinion, and I think taking a stance away from these people and almost going low to no contact would in my opinion be a really good move. If you like Am I the Jerk and what we're doing over here, please check out Am I the Genius. It's going to be linked down below in the description. Just click and go ahead and subscribe to them. And also, if you have your own stories you want to submit, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you want to submit your own stories. We're reading them all the time and we're picking out the best ones, so trust me, we would love to hear what you have to say. My boyfriend invited my coworker on our date that we've been planning for like a few weeks now. And now I'm really upset about this because I wanted it to just be me and my boyfriend. But now this lady's gonna be there for an activity I was looking forward to doing with just my boyfriend. And at this point, I just don't know how to communicate this or even really what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so my coworker has been going through some relationship trouble herself, but she hasn't really told me directly. We aren't close, however, she is friends with my partner and has shared with him what's been going on, which he then briefly told me a little bit about the drama. From what I know, she did something to upset her boyfriend and now they're basically taking a break. And also, it's important to note that this coworker knows that me and my boyfriend are dating. Now, anyways, we were planning a date together next week. I've been really looking forward to it and I've been asking to go paint pottery for like a couple of months now. We've done things that he wanted to do several times, like going fishing twice, hanging out with his roommate, and hanging out with his grandma, which honestly is fine. Like, I'm happy to do it with them. But I felt like a third wheel with him and his grandma and his own friends and his roommate. Anyways, the weather finally seemed to be crappy enough and the timing aligned so pottery could finally work out. So we planned this a week ago and honestly at this point I'm excited. Then today I walked in on him talking with my coworker and he was comforting her. I walked out to give them time to like wrap up and have some kind of privacy, and then I came back a little later and she hasn't told me anything because again, we're not really that close. I was jumping in a little bit and making like small comments when he was suggesting activities for her to do to like distract herself a little bit. But then he asked her if she had the day off next week that we were going to paint pottery. She responded that she did, and he said that they should do something together, and she said okay. He then said that actually him and I were going to paint pottery and said that I would be okay if she would come along, and then just invited her. She accepted it, and honestly I just shrugged because my feelings were really hurt. He then later texted me and asked why I looked sad, and I just said I was fine. But really, I didn't want to respond angry, but honestly I also don't want to be a brood. So how do I communicate this to him? I don't want to make a big deal about it, but seriously, this has really upset me. To be honest, I don't even want to go paint anymore with him, and I think I'm just going to tell him to spend the day with her instead and go myself. We've been spending a lot of time together anyways, and I kind of want a break and some me time. So seriously, what should I do here? Because I don't know what to do. Okay, personally, if I had something planned with my partner and they suddenly said, oh, I'm going to bring this other person along as a third wheel, like I'd be so pissed off. I'd be so annoyed by that. Like, dude, seriously, we can't just have a one-on-one date? Are you kidding me right now? And it's also really annoying that this coworker doesn't have like any common sense when it comes to like, oh, I don't know, turning this opportunity down. Like if I knew like a man and a woman were going on a date to like paint pottery, the last thing I would do would be like, oh sure, let me tag along as a third wheel. Let me ruin this experience for you guys. Like, dude, I don't know, read the room maybe. Like for me, I would just never want to be a part of something like that. It would be so awkward. Maybe as like a couple's date night or something, like that could be fun, but just straight up getting involved and getting in the middle of that, like no, dude, you've got to have way more common sense than that. So if I was in your shoes, I would be completely honest with him. I would tell him straight up that you don't like this and that you really kind of wish he hadn't done this, because this really does sound like it's going to be annoying and very awkward, especially coming from a woman who like you don't know that well and who's basically inserting herself into the middle of your relationship. Today, I need to confess that I made thousands of dollars scamming kids in MMOs as a teenager, and now that I'm a fully formed adult with like a real corporate job, I still feel sick about what I did, and I honestly don't know what to do about it, and I don't know how to get rid of this guilt. Here's what happened. Okay, so when I was 14 years old, I was absolutely obsessed with a popular free-to-play virtual world. I then quickly figured out that the game's virtual economy was completely unregulated, and it was absolutely stocked full of gullible young players. So I started running these elaborate social engineering scams. I would promise to double their in-game items, or pretend to be an administrator who needed their login details to fix a database bug, or even offer to trade them rare pets that did not actually exist. Once I had their high-value gear, I would completely block them. I would transfer the assets to a burner account and then sell them on a shady third-party forum for real cash. I was making about $300 to $400 a week as a 14-year-old girl. To me, it was just a game. I was exploiting digital code, and I did did not see the real people behind the avatars. I bought myself a high-end gaming laptop, I paid for my own clothing, and honestly, I felt like I was some kind of mastermind. I was completely desensitized to like what I was doing. I would sit in my bedroom eating potato chips while watching 10-year-old kids literally beg me in game chat to give their stuff back. But there's one specific kid I can never forget. I scammed him out of a limited edition virtual item that was worth about $200 real-world dollars at the time. He sent me a wall of text in the private chat, typing in all caps, crying and saying that his mom bought him that item for his birthday after he spent months in the hospital recovering from surgery. He was pleading with me, saying his mom worked extra shifts at her job to afford it. Well, I read the messages, I laughed, I blocked him, I sold the item an hour later, and then I went right to sleep. Fast forward and I'm 26 years old now. I have a normal corporate job, a retirement account, and I've got a stable life. But lately, this memory has been absolutely eating me alive. I realized that I did not just steal some meaningless digital pixels. I stole a child's birthday present, their trust, and their joy. I was a parasite. I would give anything to find that kid now and wire him his like $200 back with interest, but those forms are long gone and I don't even remember his username. I just recently looked at my old gaming laptop sitting in the closet under a pile of winter clothing. And you know what? I think I'm gonna finally throw it into the recycling bin tomorrow because I cannot stand looking at the machine that funded my teenage sociopathy. Oh man, you were a terrible person. I think we can all confidently say that. And I also don't think I'm out of pocket for admitting that for you. Like, holy crap. That is some messed up things that you did, and I'm really glad you feel sorry for it. But dude, if I met someone like you, I would probably never want to be around you. Like, you're a grade A jerk. And sure, hindsight is 20/20 and we do stupid things as kids, but this was like calculated, dude. You went out of your way to scam people. Like, that is really messed up. And you really were kind of like a sociopath as a teenager. Like, holy crap. Like, I remember being 14 years old and I would never do anything close to something like this. Like, that's a really early age to have this kind of like well thought out plan. So yeah, you're not a good person for doing this, and I'm so sorry that you feel bad for it, but also I think that's a good thing because hopefully you never do anything like this in the future. Oh, and by the way, it goes without saying, don't ever give your information online. I don't care who's asking for it. No one's ever gonna want your username or your password in any capacity. So don't fall for crap like this. Like, seriously, just don't do it. Keep your information private and maybe you can avoid the original poster and other people like them. Today, I banned a customer from my store after she started swearing at me, my employees, and at our store prices, forcing me to ban a regular who comes to our store often. And now, after the fact, and despite the fact that she tried apologizing, I'm sticking to what I want to do here, and I'm absolutely keeping her banned from my premises. And I'm now wondering if maybe I'm overreacting or if I'm justified at all, because right now I just don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, for starters, I manage a retail store and I am very protective of my employees. A couple of days ago, we had one of our regulars come into the store in a very bad mood. We do love her. I mean, she's been short with us a few times, but that day she was much worse. From the very start, she came in snapping at my employee. She demanded to see certain products, and if my employee grabbed the wrong one, she would snap and say, "Oh, not that one." Now, I was in my office, but I heard her, so I stepped out to help her as well. Now, as soon as she saw me, she rolled her eyes. I mean, she knew I was out there because of her, and then when we got her all rung up, she complained about the price, which comparable to any other store like ours, it's not that outrageous, and she's purchased from us like a million times. When the employee said that she couldn't give the woman a discount for no reason, this lady really started yelling, saying, "Oh, that is such bull crap. I'm never coming back here ever again, and I'm gonna leave you a bad review." Well, when I told her, "Okay, you can leave," she told me to F off. So I told her, "You know what? You're banned from the store. You are no longer welcome in my store ever again." Fast forward to today, and she came in and apologized and said that she was just having a bad day that day. Nothing was going her way and she had lost her dog. And apparently she had found it right before coming into the store. I then just told her that unfortunately, due to the way she spoke to us and treated my staff, I still don't feel comfortable letting her come back in here, especially if I'm not here. And like I said, she's been short with us before, but the other day was a whole new level and an unacceptable way to talk to people who are helping you out. Here's the thing, we deal with a lot of rude customers and I'm not afraid to ban people that make my staff uncomfortable or that are rude to them. Talking to me that way and saying that the prices that she normally pays are bullcrap, like no, I am not okay with that. She was sad and said she understands and then eventually left, but seriously, with all that in mind, am I really overreacting here? Did I go too far by banning her, or should I really have like given her another chance because I don't know what to do here? Nah, dude, she needed to go. Screw that. First off, I think you're a really good manager for like stepping in and saying, okay, I'm gonna protect my employees. Because some managers just don't do that. They throw you to the wolves, dude. They make you feel like crap for not bending over for these customers. I know I've been in that scenario, and I'm sure people who are listening right now have probably dealt with that. So dude, the fact that you're actually a good manager and you're like protecting your employees and making sure they're safe and making sure they're being taken care of, like, dude, you are like awesome. We need people like you. We need the Batman of the office to step in and be like, no, you're not gonna do that. But for me, the fact that she started swearing at you and getting like loud and angry, like, bro, I don't care if you're having a bad day. The way you're acting right now is a choice. You're choosing to be like this. Don't use me as a punching bag for your emotional trauma. If you lost your dog, like, dude, I'm sorry that happened, but that is not my fault. And it's also so funny when people are like, I don't like these prices. These prices suck. And it's like, dude, you think I listed it like this? I just work here. This is literally just my job. I have no control over that. You can either pay for it and buy it or go anywhere else. So for her even implying that, oh, I want a discount, like, dude, you're not getting a discount. This is not like some charity case. What are we doing right now? I don't care if you're a regular. Like, that is just not gonna happen. Because you know for a fact, dude, if you do that once, that lady's gonna expect that every single time. She's gonna know that her crappy behavior got rewarded. She'll be like, oh, I can get a discount if I'm angry. And then she'll come in all the time being like, I want a discount again. Like, screw that. You gotta cut the head off the snake immediately in that situation. So with all that in mind, no, dude, you're not overreacting. She needed to go. In my mind, she can shop anywhere else if she's gonna have that kind of attitude. Because ultimately, whatever's going on in her life is not your problem. My parents insisted that I come home during a thunderstorm, all because the one rule they have for me living with them is that I cannot spend the night at my boyfriend's house. But the fact of the matter is that I'm 23 years old and it was incredibly dangerous driving home during that storm. And now I'm frustrated and I just don't know how to talk to my parents about this. And at this point, I just don't know what to do. I'm a 23-year-old female and I still live with my parents because I genuinely cannot afford to move out right now. For reference, I work full-time and I'm in graduate school, but between the cost of living and everything else, living at home is currently my only realistic option. My parents and I generally have a good relationship too, by the way. They're supportive in a lot of ways, and I don't consider them controlling overall. However, they have one rule that has become a major source of frustration for me. They do not allow me to spend the night at my boyfriend's house. I've been following the rule because I live in their house and I don't want to create a huge conflict, but the problem is that I'm 23 years old, and I feel like I should be able to, like, I don't know, make my own decisions about where I sleep. And what happened tonight is what really pushed me over the edge. I was at my boyfriend's house and there was a severe thunderstorm. It got to the point where I genuinely did not feel safe driving home. I texted my mom and I told her that it was storming badly and that I didn't want to drive in it. Well, her response was that my dad said to wait until it passed and then come home anyways. Now, the thing is, if it had been up to my boyfriend, I could have simply stayed there for the night and driven home safely the next morning. But instead, I waited and eventually drove home anyway. The drive was awful. At points, I could barely see the road, all because of the rain. And what really upsets me wasn't just the drive itself. It was the feeling that coming home was always going to be the answer no matter what. It felt like the rule mattered more than the circumstances. Then when I got home, my mom didn't say anything to me. No, oh, I'm glad you made it home safely, or how was the drive? Like, literally nothing. Now, I know some people will say that if I don't like the rules, then I should move out. But the problem is that I realistically can't afford to do that right now. I also don't know what would happen if I simply decided to stop following this rule. My parents have never really said what the consequences would be, so I'm stuck between wanting more independence and not wanting to jeopardize my living situation. So I'm looking for outside perspectives. Am I being unreasonable for feeling angry about this? If you were my parents, would you expect a 23-year-old living at home to follow a no sleepover rule, regardless of the circumstance? And if you were in my position, would you keep following the rule, have a direct conversation about it, or simply start making your own decisions and deal with the fallout? I'm not really asking whether my parents technically have the right to make this rule since I live in their house. Rather, I'm asking whether it's reasonable for a 23-year-old to feel frustrated by it, especially when it led to driving home in severe weather instead of staying put and driving home safely the next morning. Because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, this is really messy because there's a lot of circumstances that could be happening here. For starters, how crazy are your parents? Like, will they really kick you out if you didn't follow this rule? Like, that's the first and probably only question I would ask myself first, where I would need to know, like, are my parents really going to be that irrational and kick me out out if I don't follow this one rule. Because if that is what's keeping me between having like a place to stay and a place to live at, where my needs are practically taken care of and I'm able to like stay there and like get my stuff done, then yeah, I will swallow my pride and absolutely follow that rule. Like, I am not about to like sacrifice my living situation when from the sounds of it, I have a really good setup, and living at home is saving me probably a lot more money than it would be of just lighting a check on fire every month for renting like a crappy apartment. So if your parents are crazy enough to kick you out, then yeah, absolutely follow the rule. But if they're reasonable, and hopefully they're reasonable because that would be insane otherwise, then I would straight up ask them like, hey, you made me drive home in a thunderstorm. That was really dangerous. It would have been way safer for me to spend the night at my boyfriend's house. Like, what's the deal? That was unfair for me. And maybe find some kind of like middle ground. It doesn't sound like you're a bad person and you have like a checkered past as a teenager. So it's weird that they're trying to be like super controlling now in your life when you're literally an adult. Like, you're 23 years old. You can make your own decisions, and you know you can make your own decisions. And you know for a fact you're going to spend the night at your boyfriend's house and drive home and nothing else is going to happen. Which, by the way, you could do exactly what they're worried about at any time. You spending the night is not like a facilitating factor of you guys doing what they're fearing you're going to be doing. And I'm pretty sure everybody knows what I'm talking about. Like, obviously your parents are like, oh, don't sleep with your boyfriend. But it's like, dude, she could do that at any time. So it doesn't have to be just spending the night. Like, what are we talking about? So I don't know. I think I would have a conversation with my parents if I was in like a similar situation, because it's not unreasonable to be like, dude, I'm 23. This is frustrating. I should have the right and opportunity to sleep wherever I want. And I shouldn't be forced to follow this stupid rule, which in my opinion, this rule is very dumb. And I'm sure you feel the same way. So yeah, dude, have a conversation. Try and talk it out, because them making you drive home in a thunderstorm was really irresponsible and not fair at all. My entitled toxic niece is one of the worst people I've ever had to deal with, as she would literally make false police reports anytime she didn't get her way. So I decided to get some petty revenge by allowing her to eat actual garbage for dinner. And I gotta be honest, this was incredibly satisfying to do because my niece is a terrible person and one of the worst people to deal with on the planet. Welcome back to Am I the Jerk, the only show where you can find out that yes, revenge can be served straight from the garbage. Subscribe to Am I the Jerk if you haven't already, and click the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Let's get started. Okay, I need to explain my relationship with my niece. My niece lives far away and was coming to visit on some weekends. And my God, it had been nothing but problems ever since she started coming to visit. All the way to the point where the police even showed up at my doorstep because apparently she called them. And yeah, she has a history of phoning the police on people and making false accusations when things don't go her way. This girl believes that anything that belongs to me is just free game for her. Like my feminine hygiene products, my razors, my toothbrush, even my loofah. She tried lying about it when I confronted her about it, which we saw right through, by the way, and I told her as such. I even reminded her again for like the 10th time to please leave my stuff alone. And holy crap, the loofah was my last straw and I definitely chewed her out. I told her I shouldn't have to hide my personal products in my own house and that she had her own products, so use that. I also told her that if she didn't have something, then she needs to tell one of us and we would then try to help her get what she needed. Well, she didn't come up for supper that night. I mean, we were having pasta, and yes, this will be important later on. And I thought it was because she was like pissed off with me or something like that, but boy was I wrong. So I was cleaning my kitchen and I was using a pot to collect the food waste, and at this point it was only pasta and sauce in the pot that I collected off of the kids' plate that they literally just didn't finish from supper the previous night before. I mean, the majority of the house was sick, so I didn't clean up until the following morning. I had also tossed a few scraps off the counter into the pot as well. Think like a bread tag or two, some onion skins that were like missing during cleanup, stuff like that. Well, my niece finally comes up and she still won't look at me, which is kind of par for the course for a 15-year-old. So I wasn't surprised that she still would not acknowledge my existence. I then go use the washroom and I come back to find her heading downstairs with a big plate of last night's pasta. She literally cleaned the pot out onto a plate and took it to eat. But at that moment, when I realized what was going on, you know what? I didn't chase her to tell her, and we didn't see her again for the rest of the night. The night of her 3-year-old cousin's birthday, we then find out over the course of the weekend that she had completely emptied our liquor cupboard. It was nothing but empty bottles, and we are not heavy drinkers, so we didn't really realize right away. We then come to find out that last weekend and this current weekend, she drank 5 different bottles, ranging from vodka all the way to whiskey, which kind of explains why she wouldn't leave the bathroom. Now, I may have lost like $300 in booze, but I will always have the memory of her walking away with a plate of garbage to eat, because trust me, that's exactly what my niece deserves. Oh my god, bro, that's disgusting. I don't care who you are, that is absolutely gross. Maybe I'm like a spoiled, privileged American, and there's a very good chance that I am here, but holy crap, I would never willingly eat after someone else like that. And I'm talking like straight off their plate, like ew, no thank you, gross. Someone spits all over that pasta, and like especially the kids, yikes, there's no way in the world I would be okay with that. So if someone did that to me, that really would be the ultimate punishment. Like I literally would be eating garbage that was gonna go in the trash. Especially day-old garbage from a household that, oh, by the way, everybody's sick. Like, holy crap, this is the recipe for like a definite stomach bug of some kind, my god. But like, just look at the way this niece was acting in their house. I mean, this girl was literally calling the police for pretty much no reason. Just because she's not getting her way, she's calling up the cops and making things up. Like, that is beyond unacceptable. So yeah, if I had to deal with someone like that and they were pulling these kind of stunts, you better believe I would let them eat garbage and be like, you know what, I'm not gonna say anything. Because at the end of the day, and after all she's done, this is like the smallest amount of revenge you can possibly like inflict on this stupid child. And it's always kids like this where it's like, bro, I can't wait to see life hit you like a truck because you are absolutely asking for it. Karma's gonna have a beautiful time getting back at this niece, and I honestly wish I was a fly on the wall to watch it happen. If you like Am I the Jerk and what we're doing over here, please check out Am I the Genius. It's going to be linked down below in the description. Just click and go ahead and subscribe to them. And also, if you have your own stories you want to submit, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you want to submit your own stories. We're reading them all the time and we're picking out the best ones, so trust me, we would love to hear what you have to say. Today, I need to confess that I'm falsifying my intern's performance reviews, all because the corporate rules are way too rigid. And honestly, I don't regret it because this guy's a rock star and I want to see him succeed. Here's what happened. Okay, so I want to start off by saying that my intern is a decent kid, and honestly, he has a lot of potential. But if I followed the company's grading rubric, he would literally be out the door by Friday. The system here is brutal, and it doesn't account for the learning curve at all. They expect these kids to be hitting senior level metrics within 3 months. And if they show even like a bit of hesitation with the stack, the human resources software flags them for low performance. Now, here's the thing. He struggles with some of the more complex architecture designs, and his speed isn't quite there yet, but I can see him getting it. I can see the same spark I had 10 years ago when I was just starting out and nobody gave me a chance. I have been filling out his weekly logs with much higher numbers than he is actually hitting. I spent about an hour every night secretly fixing his pull requests and adjusting the timestamps just so it looks like he solved the bugs faster than he actually did. According to the official dashboard, he is a rock star, and my manager keeps congratulating me on optimizing the onboarding process. But the reality is that if I told the truth and marked him as developing like the manual says, he wouldn't get the full-time offer and his visa would probably be at risk too. I know I'm technically lying to the company and skipping the mandatory corrective action phase, but I refuse to let a rigid human resources algorithm ruin a career that is literally just starting to find its feet. Okay, first off, dude, I just want to give you a round of applause. This is the nicest thing you could have possibly done because, dude, no one does this. And I completely agree. There's some jobs out there where it's like, oh, you're just starting out? Congratulations, learn everything about this job and become an expert. Do it now. You have 3 months. Welcome to the Hunger Games. Hope you make it out alive. And it's like, dude, you're expecting an intern to do that? That really sucks. And it's completely unfair. Like, they don't know what they're doing. They're just happy to get you coffee and be like, oh yeah, I'm sitting in the meetings. I'm actually involved. Yay. Like, I was an intern for a marketing department and holy crap. Sometimes I was just happy I tied my shoes and showed up, and so were my employers. They're like, yay, you did it, you sent the email. It's like, dude, I don't know what I'm doing, help me out here, I'm like drowning. So yeah, I think what you're doing is fantastic. I say screw the company, they can think whatever they want. But if you are doing this, make sure you cover your tracks and make sure this guy's actually learning what he needs to learn. Otherwise, it's gonna look really bad for the both of you. My entitled coworker literally interrupts my presentation to try and give me constructive feedback that actually was just her being very critical of my work for literally no reason. So I decided to approach her about it and say, hey, that was not cool, resulting in her saying that I'm just oversensitive and that I can't handle feedback. And at this point, I'm wondering if I'm actually the jerk for saying something or if I should have just let it go and said nothing at all. Here's how it all went down. Okay, so I'm a 31-year-old female and I've been at my current job for about 2 years. Now there is a coworker who I will call Diane, who's like 7 years older than me, who is technically my peer, but has been at the company longer and sometimes acts like she has a supervisory role over the rest of us. Last Tuesday, we had a team meeting where everyone was sharing updates on their current projects. And at this meeting, I presented something I'd been working on for about 3 weeks. I was genuinely proud of it, and my direct manager had already seen it and given some positive feedback. Well, halfway through my presentation, Diane interrupted me. She said she wanted to offer some constructive feedback in real time, and then proceeded to list 4 things she thought were wrong with my approach, including one that was based on information she clearly didn't have because it had already been addressed in a separate meeting that she literally wasn't a part of. She spoke for about 4 minutes and the room was quiet. Like even my manager said nothing. I then finished my presentation and I just moved on. But after the meeting, I went to Diane privately and I told her that I appreciated feedback in general, but I really didn't find that what she did was constructive. I said to her that interrupting a presentation to critique it, literally in front of the team without being asked, felt more like a public correction than feedback, and that one of her points was based on a misunderstanding. Well, she then said that she was just trying to help and that I was being oversensitive. But I said that help looks different from what she did, and you know what? I just left it there. She's been cold to me ever since, and even told a mutual coworker that, oh, I just can't handle feedback. My manager has said nothing, which I'm taking as neutral, but honestly, was I the jerk for saying something to her directly instead of just letting it go? Because right now, I'm honestly not sure. Okay, first off, no, you're not the jerk. I think you handled it in the most professional way possible, where it's like, okay, I'm going to talk to you after the presentation and really let her know that no, this was not appropriate and you cannot do that. That really is rude. Which, by the way, that is crazy rude. This lady's an idiot. If you did the same thing to her, she would probably be so offended. But if I'm being completely honest, I think the most professional route probably is not the best route for someone like this, and you probably should have addressed it right then and there in the presentation. Like maybe the move was to interrupt her and be like, hey, I appreciate your comments, but I really want to get through my presentation first, and then we can circle back to any questions or comments you might have. And that way you kind of get some kind of control back into your hands instead of Diane taking over and just being a complete dork about it. Like, what a loser, dude. She's literally one of those actually, that's not right, and clearly hides her fragile ego behind constructive feedback. That's just her excuse to say whatever she wants and be like, well, I said it in a professional way. But it's like, dude, Diane, you suck. You're a terrible person. So yeah, this is absolutely not your fault. You're not the jerk for trying to address this, and Diane is completely immature and a complete moron for acting like that. Am I the jerk for not letting my stepdad and my stepsister into my apartment? All because I had been going through a depressive episode for a month, and my apartment looked like crap, and I really didn't want them to see it. But as a result of me saying that they can't come in, my mom is pissed at me, and at this point, I don't know how to make this right. Here's what happened. Okay, so I need to give just a little bit of context about my current situation. I'm a 28-year-old female, and my parents got divorced 6 years ago. My mom met my stepdad 4 years ago, and they got married last year and are really happy together. Now, I genuinely like him and his daughter, who is my stepsister, who's 24 years old. And I have nothing against either of them as people, but the relationship they have with each other is completely different from the one I have with my mom. My childhood was rough, and my parents fought constantly. I was never a priority for either of them, and my relationship with my mom was always really fragile. Like, for example, she even once kicked me out of the house because she wanted to move a boyfriend in. So yeah, growing up like this already carries a lot of weight for me. When my parents got divorced, my dad left. Then when my mom moved in with my stepdad, she just let me stay because I was in college. And over time, I took over the bills, and honestly, I just stayed. And it wasn't exactly this heartfelt choice, but more of a necessity. And the apartment isn't officially mine or whatever, but in practice, it's where I live and what I maintain. Now, gladly, my relationship with my mom has improved a lot over the years. My stepdad has genuinely been good for her, and I'm grateful for that. But the fact is, I never really had that family does thing together history with her. My stepsister grew up in a completely different dynamic, and I didn't. And at almost 30 years old, you can't just act like that's suddenly natural now. Anyways, on to the actual incident at hand. I've been in a depressive episode for about a month, and my therapist is on maternity leave. So I've been managing as best as I can, but it's honestly been rough. So when my mom got back from a work trip, I reached out and I said, hey, let's have lunch, just the two of us. But when I got to the restaurant, my stepdad and stepsister were already there. I was uncomfortable, but I just said nothing and kept it together through the whole lunch. And on the way out, they offered me a ride home and I accepted. When I got to my place, all three of them wanted to come up. And that's where it broke down because I wasn't prepared to have visitors. After a month-long depressive episode, my apartment was in a state that I wouldn't feel comfortable having people I'm not that close with seeing. If it had been just my mom, it would have been fine. And while I do like my stepdad and sister, I don't have that kind of intimacy with them, and nobody had warned me about any of this. So I said to them, oh, hey guys, I didn't invite you. And I said this in a way just to try and keep it light, but also make it clear that I meant it. Well, my mom was obviously furious with me and called me ungrateful because apparently the reason for the surprise visit was to give me chocolate and make some Easter bunny paw prints with me, which again is kind of weird because I'm 28 years old. I then explained that I had not prepared for visitors and that I'd prefer that they didn't come in. Well, once it was all said and done, they didn't come up, but now my mom's pissed at me. So seriously, am I the jerk here? Because right now I don't know what else to do. Okay, I'm gonna say it right now, you're not the jerk because because I totally understand where you're coming from because I've been through this to an extent. I don't have parents that divorced or anything like that, but I have definitely had depressive episodes where it's like, oh yeah, my house literally looks like crap. I think a landfill would look more organized than what I've got going on in the corner over there. Like, dude, I get that 100%. So like the idea of someone being like, oh yeah, we're gonna come in real quick. That is like, bro, don't do this to me. My house literally is disgusting right now. Please don't come in. So to that extent, no, you are not the jerk. I totally understand where you're coming from. You don't want people seeing the mess that literally is your life right now. And you're kind of going through it right now. So the last thing you need is people literally coming into your space. I don't blame you for a second. I completely understand where you're coming from. And I think you're absolutely in the right. Today, my girlfriend made a lie about my age when meeting her parents, and instead of denying it, I decided to go along with it, putting me and her essentially in the weirdest situation possible because now I'm seriously questioning our entire relationship. And at this point, I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. I'm 42 years old and I'm dating a 25-year-old, and we've been together for about a year now. I'm of East Asian descent, so I get mistaken for being younger than my real age pretty much all the time, especially right after I shave and all my gray beard hairs are not showing. Anyways, my girlfriend, who is white, planned for me to meet her parents last weekend. They live about an hour away, and on the drive, she asked me if I could do something kind of weird for her. She then revealed to me that she had told her parents that I was 32 years old because she was afraid they wouldn't accept the age gap. And for reference, I'm only 5 years younger than her dad. Well, I immediately felt a mixture of humiliation, shame, anger, and uncertainty. But you know what? Despite all that, I agreed to it. During the entire time we were there, I felt numb and distant, but it seemed like they believed our lie and they kind of liked me. But I am surprised I didn't spill the beans somehow with a reference to something that absolutely gave it away. Over this last week, I've been wanting to bring up this conversation with her, but I'm also hesitant because it feels like it will inevitably lead to the conclusion that we will not last, since she can't even tell her parents the truth about me. At the same time, I feel like I'm losing my dignity if I stay in a relationship, all based on a lie to hide something about me. I don't even know if she's serious about us anymore. You know, since she apologized to me afterwards, but it seemed more lighthearted as if this wasn't that big of a deal. At the same time, she constantly talks about having cute half-Asian babies with me, as if she's serious about us long term. She's also mentioned that she always forgets my real age, since, you know, I look younger, so it's like she's not really fully cognizant about our material reality and somehow living a semi-fantasy life with me. Honestly, I don't know what to do here, and I seriously need some advice. Okay, bro, what is going on right now? This is not gonna end well. Seriously, your gut is telling you the truth here. This is not gonna go the way you're thinking, and I think it's gonna be a miserable conclusion at the end of the day. Because think about it for a second. She dropped this weird request literally on the way to meet her parents. She's like, hey, I've been lying about your age. Can you cover for me by going along with it? And it's like, dude, what is going on right now? This is not okay. This is not the first impression you want to give out. Like, good lord. And honestly, dude, if I saw my girlfriend lying to her family about me just to conceal my actual age, which is 10 years older than what she's saying, then for me at least, I would not have a lot of confidence in this relationship at all. Like, I wouldn't even have confidence in her, period, because she clearly is so okay with lying just to save face, even if it makes you feel like crap, which is a giant red flag in my opinion. Like, good lord, I would never ignore that. So if this was me, I would definitely break up and move on and find a girlfriend who's actually mature enough to tell the truth, because in my opinion, this is a really weird thing to lie about and expect you to go along with. Am I the jerk for refusing to keep wearing the nickname my girlfriend gave me after I found out exactly where it came from between her and her friends? Because now I feel humiliated, degraded, and honestly really pissed off. And yet my girlfriend just expects me to get over it and deal with it, putting me in a situation where I'm just not sure if I'm spoiling the fun or if I'm actually justified in feeling this way. Here's what's going on. Okay, so I'm a 30-year-old male and my girlfriend is 28 years old. We've been together for a little bit over a year, and a few months in, she started calling me Museum as a pet name. Now, I thought it was random, but also kind of cute. When I asked why, she just said it fit me and smiled like it was an inside joke that she would later explain. And you know what? It eventually stuck. She uses it in text messages. She says it when she walks in the door. She even got me a mug with the word museum on it for Christmas. Even her friends started using it too, which I found slightly embarrassing, but you know what? I just went along with it because she seemed weirdly attached to it, and honestly, I figured it had some kind of like sweet story behind it. Well, last weekend, we were at at a birthday thing with a bunch of her friends, and one of them had too much to drink. And this is where they said, "I still can't believe you made museum happen." And that's when everybody laughed in that way where like you instantly know there is context you do not have. And it's here that I asked what they meant, and my girlfriend tried to just brush it off, but I later kept pressing about it because the whole table went awkward. She then finally admitted that early on when she first brought me around them, one of her friends said that I looked like the type of guy who would be fun for one date and then would talk for 40 minutes about a chair. Apparently another friend said that I had museum energy, meaning quiet, careful, nice to visit, but not exactly exciting. Now, instead of being offended on my behalf, my girlfriend thought it was hilarious and started calling me museum ironically. Over time, it stopped being ironic for her and actually became affectionate, which she says should be the part I focus on. But I can't get past the fact that this whole pet name that I've been wearing around like an idiot started as her and her friends lightly roasting me behind my back. She keeps saying, "Oh, it was at the very beginning, before I knew you that well," and that if anything, it is romantic because the joke turned into fondness. But I told her I don't care about how it ended up. I do not want to be called that anymore, and I don't want her friends calling me that either. Now she says I'm ruining something that had become genuinely loving because I'm choosing the worst possible interpretation. Now, maybe I am being too stiff about it, but I feel like if I had introduced her to my friends with some kind of like cute nickname that secretly means pretty but kind of dull, I would get absolutely shredded for it. So seriously, am I the jerk for telling her this nickname is dead and I don't want to hear it ever again? Because right now, I'm not sure if I'm in the wrong. Bro, this is some toxic behavior. There's no way this is okay. To an extent, I kind of understand where the girlfriend's coming from, where it's like, oh, that's kind of funny, but dude, she took it way too far. She should have pushed back and been like, yeah, that's kind of funny, but there's a lot more to him than just that. He's not just museum energy, he's a very complex person just like anybody else. So for me, the worst part is that she leaned into it. She said, oh, this is funny, let's do this all the time. And it's like, you literally have been the butt of the joke. Like, you've literally been the person they've been making fun of this entire time. And instead of defending you, she just said, oh, I'm just gonna go along with it, it's funny. Trying to now justify it as like, oh, it's romantic, I really feel good about it. There's a fondness here, don't be so sensitive. And it's like, nah, dude, I don't think so. Like, if the shoe was on the other foot, she would be devastated. She would be like, wait, you and your friends thought that about me the entire time? Holy crap, this is horrible. It wouldn't be some joyous like, oh my gosh, you're so right, I am dull but pretty. This is great. Please, let's keep using this name that like puts me down and makes me feel like crap. So no, you're not the jerk for being upset about this and saying, no, you're not going to use that nickname any longer. Your girlfriend's an idiot for even going along with this, and I think you absolutely are in the right. My former roommates mocked me and ridiculed me for wanting to lock the front door. So after I moved out, I got some revenge, where I came back to their place, opened their unlocked front door when they weren't there, and I robbed them right there on the spot. And honestly, I don't regret it, and it was incredibly satisfying. Here's basically how I did it. Welcome back to Am I the Jerk, the show where people rob their former roommates who were being toxic towards them just to prove a point that they absolutely knew they were right about, which is exactly what happens here. It's hilarious, trust me. Subscribe to Am I the Jerk if you haven't already, and click the bell to turn on notifications. Let's get started. Okay, in the summer of 2020, I was 20 years old at the time, and I moved into an apartment with two people who I will call Joel and Sadie. Now, these two were best friends with each other and acquaintances of mine from school. Also, this was the first time I ever lived outside my parents' house. The apartment was also in a really sketchy area of town. The cops were there multiple times a week, and we had items stolen from our vehicles. This was the best apartment we could afford since we all paid equal rent. And Joel was a medical student from a very wealthy family, but Sadie and I were both earning well below the poverty line. Now, a constant fight between my roommates and I was over the locking of the front door. They would leave the apartment completely unlocked whenever they left. I repeatedly asked them to please keep the door locked when nobody was home, since my laptop and other valuables were in the apartment. I needed my laptop for work, but I could not afford to replace it if it was stolen. Every time I asked this though, they always just totally brushed me off, and they implied that I was being stupid or overly anxious for wanting to lock the door. I was teased and ridiculed for this request on multiple occasions, and they never respected any of my wishes. They even said that if anything got stolen, oh, we could just replace it. Well, I came home on multiple occasions to an empty apartment with the door unlocked. They were okay roommates other than that, but this was a recurring point of tension that I absolutely needed to correct. Well, after a few months of living with them, I moved into a different apartment in the same complex with a friend of mine, and this is someone who I will call Maggie. Maggie and I were very much on the same page about keeping the door locked. We remained relatively cordial with Joel and Sadie, and occasionally said hi in the parking lot, but we didn't really hang out with them since they weren't taking COVID it seriously at all. Well, one evening I was cooking dinner alone in the apartment, and to my dismay, our potato peeler was nowhere to be found. I scoured the whole kitchen and I simply couldn't find it, and unfortunately the peeler was essential to the meal I was making. So I decided to go and see if Joel and Sadie were home and if they were willing to loan me their potato peeler. So I walked over to their building and I went up to their apartment and I knocked on the door, and of course I got no answer. But then right at that moment something snapped in me. Even though I knew that I shouldn't do this, I tried the door and of course it was unlocked. And this was the very moment I finally got my revenge. I went into their dark, empty apartment, I grabbed their potato peeler out of their kitchen drawer, and I took it back to my own apartment. And you know what? I never said anything to either of them about it. 6 years later, guess what? I still have that potato peeler. It's a small bit of revenge, but honestly, it's still extremely satisfying. Holy crap, your ex-roommates are morons, dude. Seriously, I'm not one of those people that's like, oh yeah, we can just replace it if we lose it. Like, dude, what are you talking about? You must be made of money, but I'm not. Like, I got my computer and my wallet and my documents with me. I don't want anybody walking into my house out of nowhere and just being like, okay, I'll take this and I'll take this. Because guess what? In the same way that you walked in and took the potato peeler, someone could easily walk in and just start taking stuff. Like, that is so irresponsible, and it's completely rude to your roommates. Imagine living in that environment. Like, that must really suck. Now, the original poster confirmed in the comments section that yeah, they still have the potato peeler, and no, Joel and Sadie never noticed, it looks like. So honestly, I love this revenge. I think it absolutely proves you right, because yeah, this stuff could easily happen. And it's really ironic that you became the very thing you warned them against. Because if you're able to get in, then holy crap, someone with worse intentions could easily get in as well. If you like Am I the Jerk and what we're doing over here, please check out Am I the Genius. It's going to be linked down below in the description. Just click and go ahead and subscribe to them. And also, if you have your own stories you want to submit, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you want to submit your own stories. We're reading them all the time and we're picking out the best ones, so trust me, we would love to hear what you have to say. Am I overreacting to my girlfriend being mad at me after I didn't pay attention to her while I was on the phone with my dad? Because now she's acting really weird and I just don't know how to fix this. Here's what happened. Okay, so today my girlfriend got mad at me because I didn't really acknowledge her while I was on the phone with my dad. For just a little bit of context, my dad and I don't have the best relationship, and the conversation we were having was very emotional. I wanted to give him my full attention, and my girlfriend knows that. We had both said hi when she got home, and I told her before she came in that I was going to be on the phone for just a little bit. Well, she comes in and gets on top of me and starts being really physical while I'm on the phone. She tends to do this when I'm on the phone, and honestly, I don't understand why. I also wasn't really paying attention to her because I was focused on the phone call, but that just ended up upsetting her. Then she tried to get up, but I held her down because I wanted her to stay close to me. She kept saying she had to get up and go to the bathroom, and I could tell by her face that she was already upset. After I finished the phone call, I immediately told her to please come back and be near me, but then she started saying stuff like, oh, you're falling out of love with me, and saying that I'm not attracted to her anymore. She then asked for space, so I gave that to her, and when she came back, I playfully said, can I have my kiss now? But that just made things worse. After that, we basically stopped talking. She said she needed space again, but I thought she was just sleeping in the room. But it turns out she was just watching videos, and that frustrated me because I've been waiting for her to come out so that we can talk and just make up, but instead she's avoiding the conversation. So I just don't know if I'm overreacting here. I feel like I was trying to handle a tough conversation with my dad while still being there for her, but it ended up turning into a fight instead. It's frustrating that she's avoiding talking, but also giving me space, and I'm honestly not sure how to handle it. What should I do? Okay, I gotta be honest, your girlfriend's super immature. She knew you're on a serious phone call, like she knows you're having a serious phone call with your dad, and it's obviously emotional and you probably look distressed. So maybe in this moment is not the time to start wrestling with your boyfriend, like this might be the time to give him some space. So no, you didn't do anything wrong, your girlfriend's being weird, she's obviously embarrassed that the behavior wasn't reciprocated, and it's honestly not your problem. So hopefully she can get over it because in my opinion she's being very silly. Today, I need to confess that I reported my ex to the tax authorities, thus getting his entire business and life in some very deep water. And after all is said and done, I honestly don't regret this for a second, and I've never felt more powerful. Here's how I did it. Okay, I want to start off by saying that it's been 2 years ever since he walked out on me. He didn't just break up with me. He blindsided me, moved out while I was at work, and was officially with a girl from his office 48 hours later. I spent months in therapy trying to forgive and let go, because that's what a healthy mature woman's supposed to do, right? Like, I literally tried to be the bigger person. I really did. But then I saw their vacation photos. They were in Bali, staying at a resort that cost more per night than my monthly rent. And he was smiling that same smug smile he used whenever he managed to bend the rules at his small business. I knew exactly how he was affording that trip. When we were together, he used to brag about how he manipulated his books, how he paid people under the table, and how he wrote off his entire personal life as business expenses. And he thought that this made him a genius. Well, I sat at my laptop for 3 hours before I finally hit send on an anonymous tip to the IRS. And you know what? I gave them everything. I gave them dates, specific amounts I remembered, and even the names of the contractors that he paid in cash. A few months later, I heard through some mutual friends that his business is being audited. He's apparently panicking. He had to sell his car, and apparently the stress is absolutely destroying his new relationship. Now, I should feel bad. I should feel like I've moved on, but instead, I spend my evenings occasionally checking his social media just to see the cracks forming in his perfect life. I'm a 32-year-old woman acting like a ghost in the machine of his downfall. I'm not the bigger person. I'm a petty, vengeful shadow, and the worst part about it is that I don't regret it in the slightest. Oh man, this is some fantastic revenge. I love this. This guy thought he was so smooth just working the system and like bending the rules as much as he could, but it's like, dude, if you burn the wrong people, you're gonna get burned back. So good for you. I love this. I think you're absolutely in the right for doing this, and from the sounds of it, it seems like this kind of revenge was very much deserved. Am I the jerk for exposing my husband's affair with his much younger coworker, literally to both of our families? Because right now he's trying to say that I broke the family up, but honestly, I am baffled by this statement. And at this point, I don't know what to do from here. Here's what's going on. Okay, it's important to start off by saying that my husband and I have been married for over a decade. We literally have 2 kids together. And I thought we were solid until I found out he's been sleeping with a woman from his office who is barely in her 20s. He started mentoring her when she got hired a few years ago. She was fresh out of college, new to the field, and apparently she needed some guidance, if you want to call it that. He talked about her like she was a little sister, how talented she was, and how he wanted to help her succeed. And you know what? I even met her a few times at work events. She was sweet, I liked her, and honestly, I thought that was the end of it. But then I found the messages and everything changed. They weren't like ambiguous either. They were explicit text messages going back months. Photos, plans to meet up when he told me he was working late, and the whole time he was playing mentor in public and sleeping with her in private. I confronted him and he tried to downplay it and said they just got too close and it happened. He called it a mistake and said it didn't mean anything. Well, I've moved out with the kids and we're staying with my parents, but now I'm getting messages saying that I broke up our family over something that wasn't that serious. That I should have just tried counseling first and that I exposed him as cruel. But this guy lied to me for months. He used his position to get close to someone half his age, and now I'm the bad guy for telling the truth and exposing him? So seriously, am I the jerk? I really need someone to tell me because I really don't think that I am. Dude, you did the right thing by exposing him. No, you're not the jerk. This guy sucks. It's hilarious, by the way, that this guy's trying to be like, wow, you ruined the family. Everything fell apart because of your decision. I can't believe you. And it's like, oh, I don't know. This guy's got to have like a bag on his head because he's running into the furniture. What are you talking about here? He literally cheated on his wife and then got caught and exposed for it. And instead of owning up to it, he tries to be like, wow, because you told everybody about this mistake I premeditated, now you're the reason that the family fell apart. This is on you. You should have tried counseling. And it's like, bro, you really are the problem here. You're a narcissist. Because the amount of mental gymnastics this guy had to go through to be like, it's not my fault, it's her fault. Like, that is some crazy talk, and honestly, you're gonna be a lot better off away from this weirdo. My manager is super lazy and doesn't help out the team at all. And honestly, it's starting to affect pretty much everybody in the restaurant I work at. And at this point, I just don't know what to do. Here's currently what's going on. Okay, so I've worked in food service for almost 7 years, and I just don't like managers who refuse to help out their employees as needed. Our current manager is lazy and overworks us without lifting a hand with anything. Most of the time during service, she stands by the cashier chatting with her instead of trying to help us get the line down. She also sits in the office a lot of the time. A few of us honestly feel completely overworked ever since she became in charge, and the executive chef has noticed. In fact, the chef has brought this to her attention. He said, hey, what can you do to take a load off of some of your staff? Like, she gets on some of us for not getting things done in a timely manner, but we're doing a lot of things on our own without any help. Our last manager was very active and would always help us out with a lot of things, and it honestly just made the day go by a lot smoother. So if she's not going to help out, then honestly, they should hire another person. But of course, the company I work for don't want to spend the money to hire another person, and at this point, I just don't know what else to do. Okay, holy crap. As someone who's worked for a manager like this, I know your pain inside and out. They're the kind that just literally barks orders from the sideline, but would never ever pick up an apron and help out if we were in a crunch. It's like they're literally the first to criticize, but the last to help out. And if anything, they run away and hide. Because guess what? They're a manager now. They don't have to do that lower grunt work. They get to sit in the office and probably look on her phone and do literally anything else. I guarantee you, if you kick the door in one day, she's probably on Instagram Reels or something like that, just looking at stupid videos instead of doing her job. So if I was in your shoes, I would absolutely start looking for another job because this sounds miserable. And I know from experience, the second I did find a manager that cares about what I'm doing and actually is there to help out, my life got substantially better. So yeah, I think you should quit your job and find something else. I know that's like not the advice you're probably looking for, but like, dude, your manager's a massive jerk and I think you should move in a different direction. Today, I got some petty revenge on a coworker after I decided to purposefully stay a part of a work group project after this guy showed an obnoxious level of excitement about the possibility of me leaving, as I literally stuck around just to spite this guy as I knew he didn't want me around. And I've never felt more satisfaction in my life at getting back at someone. Here's what happened. Okay, I want to start off by saying that I'm in the military and I was chosen to be part of one specific group where there's like 10 people and we live in the same room for 5 days a week and do all of our work together. I'm not going to go into detail about the work that we do, but it isn't really something I wanted to do there, and I decided that I wanted to try and like change the group that I would be at. Well, this one guy from my group who very openly hates me got way too excited when I said I will probably leave this group. And just as a bit of background, this guy is an absolute jerk towards me. He accuses me of being bad at my job and basically just hates me for literally no reason. But the funny thing is though, that we've been working together only for like 1 week, and I've barely even got the chance to talk to him or even like get to know him. Every time I've interacted with him, I've been nothing but polite and kind, even though he is very mean to me. Also, it's good to mention that we're only in this group for 2 months for training, and after it, we all get out of the military. So when he got excited that I was probably leaving, he kept asking me multiple times a day, "Have you already tried to change the group?" Well, me being the pettiest person on this planet, decided this morning to stay in this group only because he wanted me out so badly. And when he asked me again this morning, have I already signed out, I just replied by saying, actually, I'm gonna stay in this group. And it's here that I smiled at him and I just kept going on with my work. You all should have seen the disappointment on his face. It was one of the most satisfying moments I've seen in a long time because this guy absolutely deserved it. Okay, this is some funny petty revenge because yeah, I can't stand people like this. It's like, dude, I was gonna go peacefully and go do my own thing, but now that you're excited about me leaving, oh, screw that. I'm definitely gonna stick around now, like screw that. Like if this guy had just kept his mouth shut, then all of this would have gone away. He literally would have had this person out the door and not had to deal with him any longer. Like especially if they really didn't like him that much, like good lord. So the fact that the original poster stuck around is hilarious to me. I think that is so funny. That probably shattered that other guy so badly that he probably was miserable the rest of the time you were doing that. And that alone, in my opinion, is well worth the price of admission because this guy was being a jerk and he deserved to get put in his place. Am I the jerk for lying to my family about how much money I have? Because currently, my aunt and my mom are seriously sucking me dry, and at this point, I don't know what to do about it. Here's what's currently going on. I'm a 19-year-old female, and I grew up in an extremely poor family with my mom, my aunt, and my grandma. We are a very small family, and although things have moderately improved, everyone is still lower class. Well, I started university when I was 17, and it's here that I started receiving student loans. And it was here that my aunt started asking me for loans on the regular. While I lived with my mom, I paid around $400 a month for rent, and I helped out with things like car insurance. I had to move out at like 18 years old due to constant arguing and strains on my mental health, and since then, she has also occasionally been asking for loans. Now, after I moved out, I got a part-time minimum wage job to help with the rent and my car, and while I'm not great at saving, I've been trying to put away small amounts each month with the hopes of saving for a deposit on a house. At one point, my mom confessed to me that she had maxed out her credit cards, and I ended up emptying out my savings both to help her out and giving my aunt loans of $200 at a time, which by the way, some of which I never even saw back. After this, I told them I wouldn't be able to help them so much anymore. Well, that is except for recently, because guess what? They ended up back in the exact same situation. I've replenished a good amount of my savings, but after a long talk with my grandma, who's also been giving them loans by the way, she urged me to keep my savings private. So for the last 6 months, I've still given them smaller amounts, but I'm now telling them that's all I can afford. But then last week, my aunt was helping me out with something on my laptop, and I just so happened to leave open a statement from my savings account. And when I did this, she blew up at me over lying. And when my mom found out, she did the exact same thing, saying if I can afford things like my tattoos, the club, and other non-essentials, then I should be able to help out family when I need to. As a result of this, neither of them have been talking to me for over a week, saying that I've turned my back on the family so they can do the same. And at this point, I feel so guilty, but I'm seriously so tired of helping them out of a situation they keep returning to. Like, am I supposed to never enjoy myself just because they can't get out of debt? Am I really being that selfish here? What should I do? Okay, bro, you do not have to tell your family anything about your finances. Like, holy crap. First off, your aunt and your mom are idiots, and it's like, dude, you're not responsible for them being in debt, but also them trying to guilt trip you and be like, what? You have more money you didn't tell us about? How dare you not help the family? And it's like, dude, maybe help yourself. I mean, what are we doing right now? Is the original poster really held hostage by your poor decisions? Like, they shouldn't have to empty out their bank account at all for you. You should get off your butt and stop, like, I don't know, going into debt and expecting your kid to bail you out. Like, how embarrassing. So no, you're not the jerk. You didn't do anything wrong. You should not have to tell them anything, and I think your grandma is definitely onto something. And if I was in your shoes, that's the only person I would be listening to. Am I the jerk for telling my confidant to pretty much zip it, as he's always the loudest person in the room, and he constantly takes other people's ideas and tries to present them as his own? Because now I'm kind of in trouble with my manager, and I just don't know if I crossed a line somewhere. Here's what happened. Okay, I want to be upfront and say that this was not my most professionally elegant moment in my life, but I've been sitting on this for like 8 months, and something finally just gave way last Tuesday. So there's a person on my team who I will call Marcus for the sake of the story. Marcus is not incompetent. I want to be clear about that because this isn't a story about someone failing at their job. Like, Marcus is perfectly capable. Marcus just also appears to believe that visible participation is the same thing as meaningful contribution, and has structured his entire professional identity around this belief. Every meeting, every single meeting, Marcus will talk first, he'll talk the most, he will repeat what other people have just said in slightly different words, and then say it with the confidence of someone who has invented the concept itself. Marcus will ask questions that are really less like questions and more like statements, with a rising inflection at the end. He also laughs the loudest at the manager's jokes by approximately 2 full seconds. For 8 months, I have watched ideas get absorbed into Marcus's presentation machine and emerge the other side sounding like Marcus's idea. And this isn't through malice exactly, it's just through the specific aggression of always being the one speaking when the room is paying attention. Well, last week in a meeting about a project I've been leading for like 6 weeks, guess what? He did it again. Took a direction I had proposed in the pre-meeting notes, repackaged it with more hand gestures and enthusiasm, and presented it to our director as a thought that he was having in real time. Afterwards in the hallway, I told him quietly and without an audience that I'd noticed the pattern and I was tired of it. That being loud wasn't the same as being valuable, that some of us expressed our contributions differently, and that didn't make them less ours. Well, he responded back by saying, "You're just intimidated by confident people." But I told him there was a difference between confidence and volume. Well, when I said this, he went to our manager, and our manager suggested that we both reflect on our communication styles. So yeah, I'm reflecting now, but what I keep finding is that I'm not wrong. So seriously, am I the jerk in this situation? Because I really don't know what to do. Okay, you had a perfect layup against this guy, but you completely fumbled it. Sure, you could talk to him afterwards and be like, hey, you really shouldn't do that. This is really taking away from my presentation or whatever. But in my opinion, it's never a good idea to play with a pig and slop, because you won't win and the pig's gonna like it. And Marcus is the pig in this situation, because a better way of handling this would be like, oh, thank you for that contribution, Marcus, but it's not quite what I said in my pre-notes. And then point to the fact that, yeah, you're the one that came up with this idea. It wasn't Marcus coming up with it like on the spot. Like, what an idiot. This guy's so annoying. Like, you would have executed this moron right there in front of everybody if you had just said this in the meeting itself. And obviously, you want to be polite and not let anything get misconstrued. But if you really want to expose this guy for the fraud that he is, then you need to start catching him in his words at the meetings themselves, especially if he stole your idea right off the paper. Like, dude, I would have brought that up immediately. I would have been like, yeah, and just like Marcus tried to describe, here's what the actual idea that I came up with really is all about. And then bam, just like that, you took the air out of his balloon balloon, man. He would have been fumbling because he has no idea what this project's about. You've been on it for weeks. Like, this guy has no clue what goes into it. And then you could have like easily destroyed him with a bunch of facts that only you know about, that he's absolutely not going to be able to like regurgitate or read in the room. So sure, I totally understand your frustration where it's like, yeah, Marcus is stealing my ideas and pretending like he came up with it. But I think next time I would let the numbers and my own ideas and research speak for themselves. I would be so concrete in what I'm presenting that there's no way Marcus could ever try to take credit for it. Because I think we both know that this idiot's going to try this again. And I just think it's better to be ready next time to shut him down right there in the meeting. An entitled bully on the airplane I'm currently traveling on literally demands that I give up my exit row seat so that he and his wife can sit together in my place. But after he was so belligerently rude and kept interrupting me when I was trying to talk to him, I decided to shut him down and deny his request, making this probably the longest 4-hour flight I've ever experienced in my life. Welcome back to Am I the Jerk, the only show where standing up to a bully is not only incredibly satisfying, but also just a little bit scary. And this first story I've got for you today is definitely that. Subscribe to Am I the Jerk and click the bell to turn on notifications. That way you never miss a video, because trust me, we've got some good ones coming up. Let's get started. Okay, so it's important to start off by saying that I'm an anxious flyer, not due to a fear of flying, but rather a fear of people. So I'm pretty happy with how I'm handling this situation that's happening right now. I'm flying back from a vacation in Costa Rica, and I paid extra for priority and an exit row seat. The flight was supposedly full, but somehow the middle seat next to me is empty. And for reference, I'm in an aisle seat. It's a 4-hour flight, so not having to rub shoulders with a stranger is a welcome surprise. I get settled in, my electronics are charging, I have stuff in the seat back, the Wi-Fi's connected, and then order some food and drinks from the flight attendant. And having an extra tray between me and the window seat passenger is also quite helpful. Now, just as I'm starting my snacks and I just mixed my drink, the guy across the aisle from me, who's probably in his 50s, asked me if the middle seat is empty. Now, I have to take off my headphones and I just respond, yes it is, and I put my headphones right back on. A couple of minutes later, he starts talking at me again, so I remove my headphones and he says to me, "Hey, switch seats with me so my wife in the back of the plane can come up and sit next to me in that empty middle seat." I then say to him, "Well, I'm all settled in right now and I don't really want to move while eating, but if you wait just a second," and before I could even continue, he interrupts me to say that it'll be really easy to switch all of our stuff, and I again start up to say that I will switch when I'm done eating, but he literally doesn't even listen to me. He just talks over me saying things like, "Unbelievable. So I can't sit next to my wife because you won't just do a simple thing like switch one aisle seat with another? So ridiculous. So unbelievably rude." I then just kept trying to tell him to please just wait a few minutes, but now he's pissing me off. He never asked me. He never said please, and immediately just started talking loudly and gesturing around to everyone, telling them how unbelievable I am. So then he finally takes a breath and says, "Well, how about after you finish eating, then you'll switch?" To which I say, "Well, as I was trying to tell you, I would be fine switching after I eat, but not after you've been so rude. Now I'm not going to switch with you at all." And of course, this makes this guy go crazy. He continues to bluster and bloviate about how I'm so unbelievable and keeping him from his poor wife that is sitting with strangers. How dare I? Then he again tries to talk to the man next to him about how evil I am and just starts leaning across the aisle and glaring right at me from 18 inches away from my face, just straight up shaking his head and making disappointment noises. At some point he mumbles under his breath and I think he swears at me, but it was really hard to hear as I put my headphones back on and I honestly just ignored him. For the next hour, he continued to glare and yell back to his wife that I was preventing them from sitting together. So I just completely ignored him and texted my friends laughing and smiling a lot, just pissing him off even more, but not doing anything wrong or engaging him in any way. We're about an hour from landing at this point, and he seems to have given up and is just leaning back and not really staring at me anymore. I have a feeling he's going to say something when we are disembarking, either to me or the people around us, about how unbelievable and ridiculous I am. But my plan is just to let out a half smile and say, okay, like I'm gonna try my best not to take the bait and just get in an argument because there isn't any point with people like this. But I already know this is gonna be hard for me. Like if this guy was capable of listening, I would tell him that it's his own fault for not upgrading his wife's seat and getting seats next to each other before the flight. I also want to reiterate that I would have switched, even though I didn't want to, all the way up until he became so rude and entitled, but I really doubt it would make a difference, so I'm just not going to give any reaction instead and see how it lands. Okay, I hate people like this so much because, like, dude, if he had just listened for like 2 seconds, we all could have come to the same conclusion. Because, dude, you're already in exit rows, like, seriously. And switching from one aisle seat to the other is pretty much the same thing no matter what. So for him to get pissed off when it's like, dude, I'm literally trying to agree with you. I'm willing to do this. Just wait till I'm done eating. And then jump in there and be like, wow, I can't believe you're so unbelievably rude. You're such a piece of garbage. You're ridiculous. It's like, I don't know what to tell you, man. I literally don't know what to tell you. I was trying to give you my seat, but you want to make this as hard as possible. Screw it, I'm not switching. Which, by the way, hey, that's exactly the way you should act when a bully is trying to push you around. You don't give in to their crap, and you definitely don't have to do exactly what they say. So seriously, even though you got an hour left in this flight at the time of you like posting this, I think you did the right thing by standing up for yourself and be like, no, you're being rude and I'm not gonna help you anymore. Because people like this deserve to get shut down, and there's absolutely no excuse for their behavior. If you like Am I the Jerk and what we're doing over here, please check out Am I the Genius. It's going to be linked down below in the description. Just click and go ahead and subscribe to them. And also, if you have your own stories you want to submit, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you want to submit your own stories. We're reading them all the time and we're picking out the best ones, so trust me, we would love to hear what you have to say. Am I the jerk for being blunt with my extended family by saying that I will never name our child after my wife's sister simply because this lady is a spoiled brat and I don't want my daughter to turn out to be like her? Because after I said that, literally the entire family lost their minds on me. And at this point, I don't really know if I'm the bad guy or not, and I seriously don't know how to fix this situation. Here's what happened. Okay, to start things off, my wife and I are expecting our daughter in a few months. My wife, I'll call her Nora for the sake of the story, has a younger sister who I will call Rebecca that everyone in the family is overprotective of. Now, me on the other hand, I am not a fan of Rebecca. I find her to be a spoiled brat that will cry to mom every time she doesn't get her own way. I find her overall to be rude and entitled. Nora's family babies her, and to be honest, at 22 years old, she should not be throwing a fit about not getting what she wants. One example of this is that she had a mini meltdown at our wedding because her shoes were the wrong color. Not even by a lot, it was just a different shade of white. You couldn't even see the shoes since the bridesmaid dress was long. So literally, about 30 minutes before we were going to get married, she was crying and everyone had to comfort her. Anyways, we got dinner with my wife's family this weekend, and during dinner, Rebecca said it would be nice to have a niece named after her. Now, I just kind of shrugged it off and the dinner went on like normal. But guess what? When we got home, my wife sat me down and told me she wanted to name our daughter after her sister, saying to me, oh, this would just mean so much to my sister. But guess what? I told her no. And for reference, the both of us have to say yes for us to name a child a certain name. Well, Nora texted her and told her that no, it's not gonna happen. And that's right at the moment when everything got bad. It started with my wife getting text messages about changing her mind from her family, and when she stuck to the decision, they got rude about it. I started to receive my own text messages, and it ended with me getting a call from my mother-in-law and Rebecca. I told both of them no multiple times, and they just started asking me why over and over again. Why not? Why aren't you doing this? Tell me, what's going on? Well, at this point, I snapped. I told both of them that I would never name our daughter after her, that Rebecca is a spoiled brat, and I don't want our daughter to be anything like her, and that this is literally an example of that. Well, after that, I hung up the phone, and my wife is now saying that I really should apologize, but she agrees they were being a lot. I've also still been getting text messages about how Rebecca's been crying ever since the conversation, and I guess her family now sees me as a huge jerk and are still on my case about this. And while my wife is on my side, she does want me to smooth things over, but I really don't want to, and I think they need to change their attitude. So seriously, am I the jerk here? Because this is honestly becoming way too much. Oh my god, these people suck so much, dude. Is this really the hill they want to die on? Like, is it worth losing face in the family and pretty much amongst your peers that this is the reason you don't talk to the original poster and their wife? All because they're not naming their daughter after your daughter? Like, you've got to be kidding me. Because just like the original poster said, this is some crazy behavior, and this proves that, yeah, Rebecca's a spoiled brat. And by the way, just because someone expresses a want of some kind where it's like, oh, it would be nice if somebody named their kid after me, that would really mean a lot. Like, that's just wishful thinking. That doesn't mean, okay, we have to make that happen. Rebecca wants it, so that means we have to do it. Please do it. Like, bro, what's going on? Rebecca's 22 years old. Why would anybody name their kid after her willingly? Especially if this is how she acts whenever she doesn't get her way. And here's the thing, to the original poster, I love the fact that you're not willing to like apologize for this, because guess what? You've not only done nothing wrong, but also think about it. This is probably the first time Rebecca's ever been told no, and somebody didn't just immediately cave all because, oh no, Rebecca's upset upset, you have to make things right. Like, even your wife in a roundabout way is trying to like instigate you to do that because she knows that, oh man, it's better to just give Rebecca whatever she wants instead of like making her upset because we'll never hear the end of it. So in my opinion, don't ever apologize for this. Never back down on this. I would absolutely ride this until the end of time. So no, of course you're not the jerk. Your extended family sucks, and Rebecca is quite literally an idiot. And if it was me, I would personally like make it a point of being like, no, we're never naming our kid Rebecca, by the way. Just want to dig that back up and throw it at you. Because obviously this is something they're choosing to be mad about because their request even in the first place is simply insane. Am I the jerk for setting up and tricking a guy who kept eating my lunch at work every single day? Because after confronting him twice about doing it, I finally caught him the third time, as he literally was caught red-handed with my container in his hand. Here's what happened. Okay, so I want to start off by saying that someone at my job has been stealing my lunch out of the communal fridge for weeks. But here's the thing, I'm not guessing, like I know exactly who it is. It's this newer guy who started about 2 months ago. For a bit of context, I follow a pretty strict diet for religious reasons. I can't just run out and grab food from wherever, so I bring homemade meals every single day. It's time consuming, but it is necessary because my options are really limited otherwise. So when my food disappears, I'm not eating lunch, period. There's nowhere nearby I can get something that works for me on short notice. And I think this guy figured that out. He follows similar dietary restrictions, and I think he clocked early on that whatever I bring is safe for him to eat. I'm pretty visible about my background, so it wouldn't have been hard to connect the dots. Every single time my lunch vanished, he would be sitting at his desk eating something that looked suspiciously like what I packed that morning. I talked to him about it twice, but both times he just completely denied it. In fact, he acted confused and said he had no idea what I was talking about. So I dropped it and just kept bringing my food. Because seriously, what else was I supposed to do? Just stop eating? Well, last week my partner made dinner and we had leftovers. And the meal itself had an ingredient in it that's totally normal for me, but one that this coworker has a serious restriction against for his own personal reasons. So I packed the leftovers for lunch the next day. I even wrote my name on the container like I always do. I didn't list the ingredients because nobody in our office does that. Plus, it's a communal fridge full of containers with names on it. And that's it. So lunchtime comes along and I open the fridge and guess what? My food's gone, which is really not a shocker at this point. I then walk up to his desk and yeah, as you can probably imagine, he's eating my food. I then told him straight up that the food he stole has a specific ingredient in it that I know he doesn't eat. And when I said that, he stopped chewing. He then started yelling about how, oh, you did this on purpose, that apparently I knew about his restriction and deliberately didn't warn him, that I basically booby-trapped my lunch to try and catch him. He said I could have just confronted him instead of letting him eat something that he can't have. But I told him I did confront him twice, and he denied it both times. Plus, I don't owe a thief a detailed breakdown of what's in my personal food. If he didn't steal it, then he would not have eaten it, which is pretty simple if you ask me. He went to human resources and they reviewed everything, and yes, they absolutely ruled completely in my favor. They said stealing food is a policy violation and that I had zero obligation to label ingredients on my own meal. So no, I didn't really set anybody up. I brought my own leftovers from my own dinner. I didn't change what I eat just to trap him. He's the one that made the choice to open a container with someone else's name on it and eat it. So in my opinion, every consequence that followed came from that choice and not mine. But regardless, with everything in mind, am I really the jerk here? Like, did I do anything wrong? Because I'm still pissed off about this and I don't know what to do. Okay, I love this story so much because obviously no, you're not the jerk, but you definitely set him up in such a way where it's like, oh yeah, he's gonna eat your food and then regret it. I hope it wasn't like an actual allergy where it's like, oh, and now my throat's closing up because there's peanut butter in this. Thanks for that. Like, hopefully it's not one of those. It doesn't sound like it was. Maybe it's just like, oh, this doesn't like sit well with my stomach or something like that. And if that's the case, then okay, screw that guy. Like, who cares? But I think if I was in your shoes and someone was actively stealing my lunch every single day, I absolutely would be the coworker who's like, okay, I'm gonna like put the hottest pepper on planet Earth in this sandwich and wait for someone to pick it up and be like, ooh, yummy sandwich, only to then bite into like a ghost pepper or something crazy like that. And then if I really don't know who stole my lunch, then I'll find out really quick when I hear someone coughing up a lung. Like, I don't know, that seems like a really easy way to figure out who's the rat in the office. But no, you're not the jerk. You didn't do anything wrong. Your coworker sucks. And the fact that they tried to spin this against you is hilarious in my opinion and shows how entitled they truly are. Am I the jerk for bringing a supposedly lazy dish to a potluck after one of my friends looked at me and said they expected more, all because I'm a professional chef? Because now I'm kind of offended and a little frustrated because I don't think I did anything wrong, but right now I'm kind of second guessing myself. Here's how it all happened. Okay, so I've been a line cook and then a chef for about 9 years now. My friends know what I do and they've eaten my food before, and some of them have even come to the restaurant that I've worked at. It's a real part of my identity in our friend group. Well, every few months we do a potluck at somebody's place, and I genuinely love these. It's casual, everyone brings something, and we eat and just hang out. But here's the thing that really just bothers me. The moment people found out what I do for a living, every potluck became this unspoken performance review. People would watch me eat their dish and wait for my reaction. Someone once literally asked me to score their lasagna, and honestly, I started to dread it just a little bit. So this time I made a deliberate choice. I brought a really good store-bought hummus, transferred it into a nice bowl, sliced some vegetables, arranged everything nicely, and I called it a day. Nothing homemade, nothing elaborate. I just wanted to show up as a friend and not as the entertainment. Now, 2 people said nothing, 3 people laughed and assumed I was joking, and kept asking what the real dish was. And my friend, who I will call Kate, even pulled me aside and said she was kind of disappointed because she had been looking forward to trying something I made, and that it felt like I just didn't really care about the evening. But I tried to explain that I cook professionally up to 60 hours a week, and that sometimes I just want to exist at a social event without my job being the main event too. Kate said she understood, but still seemed a bit cold for the rest of the night. Now, I really don't think I did anything wrong, but the reactions have me second guessing myself just a little bit. So seriously, am I the jerk here? Because I don't know what else to do here. Okay, bro, this is so annoying, it's not even funny. If someone shows up and they're like, oh yeah, I do surgery for a living, you wouldn't throw your arm on the table and be like, fix my arm. Or like if someone's like, yeah, I'm a mechanic, they wouldn't be like, you know, I'm really sad that you didn't come in here and fix my brakes for me. That's really rude. I'm sorry, but I was really expecting some expert service here. And it's like, dude, I do that for a living. I just wanted to show up and like have fun with some friends. I didn't know it was gonna be graded on like how I present myself. Like, what are we talking about? So honestly, no, you definitely did not do anything wrong. You're not the jerk here. If they really expected some kind of like catering service out of you just because you're coming to like have fun and go to a potluck, then these are probably not very good friends to begin with, and you can probably find some much better ones literally anywhere else. Am I the jerk for not relinquishing my apartment to my father after he asked me to let a family member live with me so that they could visit someone else in the hospital close by? But after literally being left on my own pretty much for the entirety of my life, as well as him knowing that I was homeless and not doing anything to help me out, I decided to turn him down and finally set some boundaries, putting me in a scenario where I truly just don't know what to do anymore. Here's what happened. Okay, so my parents divorced when I was young and my dad got remarried, and circumstances led to us being estranged for some time due to their actions. Now, my dad makes a lot of money, but he didn't want to contribute to child support or me and my brother's education, so mostly my mom just paid for it. Eventually, I moved away to complete an arts degree. There was an emergency in my student housing, and I was spending my money from part-time jobs on living expenses. Long story short, I became temporarily homeless during the last year of my bachelor's degree, and my options were to either stay in the city homeless or forfeit my degree and move home, even though I was 6 months to being done. So I literally became homeless, and eventually my place became livable again and I completed my degree. And holy crap, I just want to jump in as the narrator. That is some grit and determination I've never seen before in my life. This person went homeless just to finish up college. Like, bro, that is some determination. Okay, back to the story. Now, my dad, who makes a considerable amount of money, knew to some degree I was homeless and didn't even offer any support. Fast forward 2 years and I moved home and worked 2 full-time jobs just so I would be able to go for a clinical graduate program that is incredibly competitive. And with that, I got an apartment of my own. Now, you might be wondering, okay, how does this become relevant to like the current circumstance? Well, my dad is now asking if his partner can stay in my apartment because she has a family member in the hospital nearby, even though I'm living there and completing my master's. Now, I have tried to set boundaries, but they continue to ask and degrade my financial decisions of continuing to pay for my apartment when I'm going home to work for the summer. They have more than enough money for a hotel and have went on like 2 different overseas vacations in the past 2 months. And yet, in the 7 years of doing my education, they never came to visit me, although I have been less than 4 hours away the entire time. And seriously, this is all bringing up a lot of feelings for me, alongside a lot of favoritism and like preferential treatment growing up that resulted in undue blame and poor treatment towards me. So with all that said, am I the jerk for not letting them or even wanting them to stay at my apartment? Because right now I still feel a certain kind of way about this and I'm a little bit pissed off. Okay, honestly, with all things considered, I don't think you're the jerk at all. well, it sounds like your dad sucks, like this guy's loaded, and he seriously sat by not only knowing that you're homeless, but also doing nothing to help out. And now out of nowhere, he's like, well, you have an apartment close by. You should let my family members stay there so they can visit people in the hospital. And it's like, bro, I went homeless just to complete my arts degree, which by the way, doesn't even guarantee a solid career. You think I'm gonna give up my apartment to you of all people? The person who could have helped me out of my homelessness but did nothing instead? Like, no, you're not the jerk for turning him down. If anything, this is a small taste of his own medicine. This is the karma he deserves. Like, then he can know what it feels like to be put out. So no, you're not the jerk. I think you made the right choice, and in my opinion, I would do the exact same thing. Am I the jerk for not waking up my roommate for her job interview after she told me to do so? Because after I did wake her up, she literally went right back to sleep, even going as far as ignoring her other alarms that she set. And despite the fact that she missed her interview, she's trying to blame me and say that I sabotaged her. And at this point, I'm so annoyed that I just don't know what to do. Here's basically what happened. Okay, so I live with my roommate, and she had a super important job interview this morning at 9 o'clock, and yesterday she asked me if I could make sure that she wakes up on time because she says she's really bad with her alarms. Now, I said sure, but I also told her that she should set multiple alarms just in case. And when I said that, she laughed at me and said, oh, of course I would. Well, this morning, I went to her room at around 7:30 in the morning. I woke her up, her eyes barely opened up, and then she told me she's fine and she had more than enough time. Then later on, I hear an alarm go off like 3 more times. She then turned them off every time and went right back to sleep. Now, I was already up getting ready for work, and I thought about waking her up another time, but honestly, I felt like it wasn't really my responsibility to babysit her, especially since she's an adult and this was important to her. So you know what? I just left. Well, fast forward to around 10:30 and she started blowing up my phone, asking, why didn't you wake me up? Saying that she missed the interview completely. Now she's saying to me, oh, you sabotaged me. You agreed to help me out. Now I get it. I said I would help her out. But at the same time, she literally woke up many times and chose to go right back to sleep. I didn't think that she needed me to step in like her parent or something. And now as a result, she's barely talking to me. And she's running around telling our mutual friends that I screwed her over. So please tell me I'm not the jerk, right? Like I didn't do anything wrong, because this is seriously so weird. Yeah, your roommate's an idiot, bro. They literally are sitting there trying to be like, oh wow, you sabotaged my opportunities. You're the reason I'm not gonna get this job and I hate you. And it's like, dude, your crappy sleep schedule's your problem, not me at all. Like I literally woke you up at 7:30 and your alarm went off 3 times. Like what more do you want? You want me to carry you out of the bed and throw you in the tub and turn on the shower? Like what's going on right now? So no, you're definitely not the jerk. Your roommate's an idiot, and honestly, if she missed out on this job, then that is her problem and not yours. My best friend takes advantage of my kindness when I let her stay with me for a few weeks, as she literally turns my place into a party house, inviting anybody and everybody over all the time, as my 1-bedroom apartment was slowly turned into like the one hangout spot everyone had to go to in our friend group. But now, after kicking everybody out and after getting my friend out of my apartment, this is now all being turned against me, as my best friend is demanding that I apologize for embarrassing her and for ruining the vibes. And at this point, I feel like I'm going crazy and I don't know what to do. Welcome back to Am I the Jerk, where helping out your friends can absolutely backfire in one of the most spectacular ways possible. And the original poster in this first story that I've got for you absolutely goes through that. Good lord, strap in for this one. Naturally, you need to subscribe to Am I the Jerk if you haven't already, and click the bell to turn on notifications. I mean, you don't want to miss a video, do you? Let's jump into this first story. Okay, so I recently moved into my own small apartment, and honestly, it's nothing fancy. It's just a 1-bedroom, but it's the first time I've lived completely on my own, and I was honestly really proud of it. I was still settling in and trying to make it feel like my space. Well, my best friend asked me if she could stay with me for a couple of weeks because she was going through some personal stuff and she needed a place to crash temporarily. And you know what? I agreed, thinking that it would be short term and that we'd mostly just be respectful of each other's space. A group of my friends, all of us in our mid-20s, started coming over early on too. At first, it was sweet. I mean, they would come by to like celebrate me being independent and having my own place, and they even brought their own food and drinks and helped me unpack a little bit, and it felt like this little housewarming moment. But then it didn't stop there. Even while my best friend was staying with me, they started showing up more and more without even asking me first. I'd come home and there would already be a group of people in my apartment saying they were having a girls' night again. They would bring more people too, including friends and even boyfriends I didn't even know, and turn my living room into a full hangout spot. There would be music blasting, people in my kitchen cooking like they lived there, drinks spilled on my couch, and my things being used without my permission. It stopped feeling like visits and started feeling like my apartment was just their meetup spot. I told them multiple times that I appreciate them visiting, but I need notice before anyone comes over, and I need my space respected. They would then just laugh it off and say, oh, you're too serious, and that I should be happy people want to visit me. Well, last Friday it happened again, but it was way worse. I came home after a long shift and there were like 6 to 8 people in my apartment. My best friend had invited them in again without telling me, and it turned into a full party situation. Some of them were literally decorating my place with balloons and streamers like it was a surprise party, except I literally wasn't invited. My bedroom door was shut and locked, and when I opened it, I found 2 people sitting on my bed eating takeout like it was normal. One of them even laughed and said, oh, relax. Like, are you kidding me? How can I even begin to relax if my comfort place is not respected? On top of that, my neighbor later told me that she already reported noise and constant foot traffic to my landlady because people had been coming and going from my unit. I mean, my God, I had not even realized that it had gotten that bad. I called my best friend and I told her everyone needed to leave immediately and that this couldn't keep happening. I told all of my friends that they are not allowed to just show up like this anymore. When she tried to argue and said I was ruining the vibe and embarrassing her and being ungrateful, I finally snapped and I told her to leave as well. And so it's here that I ended up kicking her out along with everybody else. Now they've all left, but I'm getting messages saying I embarrassed them, I overreacted, and that I had kicked them out over nothing, and that I should apologize for ruining the night. I feel bad because it started as something nice, but it completely spiraled, and now I look bad to my neighbor and even my landlady's involved. So seriously, am I really the jerk for shutting it down and kicking out my best friend? Because this honestly felt like it was going on way too long, and I just don't know if I made a mistake. Okay, someone said it best in the comments section, and I'm absolutely gonna repeat this. If this had continued, there's a good chance that the landlord would have kicked you out. Imagine being in a spot where it's like, hey, can I crash at your place for a few weeks? And instead of just laying low and being a good roommate, you decide, oh yeah, I'm gonna make this into a party spot. I'm gonna let people in who are gonna eat food on your bed and just destroy the place and make a mess and make spills and have all these stains everywhere. Like, no, I'm not gonna be a normal roommate and respect where I'm staying. I'm gonna be an obnoxious jerk and then act like it's your fault when you kick me out. Like, dude, this best friend of yours you're describing who stayed with you is a complete narcissist. And this includes your friends, dude. Are they really trying to look at you and be like, wow, you ruined the vibe? It's like, dude, I didn't kick you out of a coffee shop where you're more than welcome to hang out. I kicked you out of my place. I literally rent the place, dude. This is my space, not yours. It's not a public hangout spot. If you guys want to hang out, go literally anywhere else. Don't do this crap at my place, disrespect my space, and then be like, wow, I can't believe you kicked us out. We were only being bad guests. Like, come on, bro. This really is just completely unbelievably tone deaf. So yeah, you need some better friends. These people suck so bad. And no, you're definitely not the jerk for kicking them out. If I was in your shoes, I would have done the same thing and I would not look back for a second. If you like Am I the Jerk and what we're doing over here, please check out Am I the Genius. It's going to be linked down below in the description. Just click and go ahead and subscribe to them. And also, if you have your own stories you want to submit, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you want to submit your own stories. We're reading them all the time and we're picking out the best ones, so trust me, we would love to hear what you have to say. Am I the jerk for telling my roommate's girlfriend that I can hear everything she's saying about me? Because she is literally talking trash about me in my own house. And I'm hearing all of it because our walls are paper thin. Because now I'm being called passive aggressive despite the fact that I didn't do anything wrong. And at this point, I really just don't know what to do. Here's basically how it all happened. Okay, to start things out, I live with my roommate who I will call Tom. And honestly, we get along just fine. At this point, his girlfriend, who I will call Becca, stays over maybe like 4 or 5 nights a week. And my God, the walls in our apartment are like paper thin. And I really mean like really thin. I can hear full conversations from my room if people are talking at normal volume in the living room. Well, a few weeks ago, I started noticing that Becca would say things about me to Tom while I was supposedly in my room. And it was just small stuff at first, saying that I loaded the dishwasher wrong, that my shoes by the door were annoying, that I was kind of a lot without specifying at all what that meant. Now, I didn't say anything. It felt really petty to bring it up. But then last week, I was in my room with the door closed, and I heard her tell Tom that she thought I was socially weird and that she didn't understand why he was still living with me instead of getting a place with her. I then came out like a few minutes later, and she was just sitting on the couch and said, "Hi there," as if nothing happened. But I just said to her pretty calmly, "Hey, just so you know, the walls are really thin and I can pretty much hear everything from my room." Well, when I said that, she went completely silent. Tom looked incredibly uncomfortable. Nobody said anything for a few seconds, and then she said she had to make a call and then went to the bedroom. Tom Tom then messaged me later saying that I had made it really awkward and that I should have just told him privately if it was really bothering me. But it's like, dude, I didn't bring up anything specific that she said. I just gave her factual information about the apartment. But apparently this makes me passive aggressive. So seriously, am I the one at fault here for not doing this in a different way? Like, I'm very frustrated and I'm super annoyed by this, and I really just don't know what to do at this point. Okay, dude, I think you handled this perfectly. First of all, this lady has no right to be like, wow, he's weird. You shouldn't be living with him. You should live with me instead. And it honestly like begs the question, like, why is Becca even obsessed with you in the first place, dude? It sounds like you really just don't bother anybody. Like, this has the energy of like, oh, I'm minding my own business and I'm staying in my own lane. So for her to walk around and be like, wow, he does all these things wrong. He's socially awkward and I hate him. All while saying that in the apartment you live in is just wild to me. Because dude, if I really felt that way about someone, I would wait until I'm out of their house. I would wait until I got to the car or something like that to be like, okay, yeah, this guy's weird and I don't like him. And you know what? Here's the thing. I could care less that Becca doesn't like the original poster. Like, sure, go for it. Don't like him. If you have your reasons, go for it. But to literally insult him in his own apartment, you know, with an earshot of him from his bedroom, like, that is weird. That's very toxic and absolutely deserves to get called out. So no, I think Tom has absolutely no ground to stand on because first of all, he's a terrible friend. And hey, maybe this is your way of finding out that, oh yeah, Tom's not a friend, he's just a roommate. But it's like, okay, well, if you wanted me to address this in a different way, then maybe Becca shouldn't have been talking crap about me in the first place. And especially behind my back in my own house. Like, that's passive aggressive. Not you walking out and being like, hey, I can hear everything you're saying. Which, by the way, that is like a beautiful way of putting it. I love the way you handled that. So no, you're not the jerk here. Tom is a literal coward for not trying to defend you more. And Becca's just a toxic jerk for talking crap about you in your own apartment. Like, that is still wild to me, and I just cannot believe she would do that. My friend asked to use my home for her child's birthday party, and then once it didn't quite work out, she uninvited me and my husband. And honestly, it really seems like we've been used in this situation, and I just don't know what to make of it. Here's what happened. Okay, I want to start off by saying that my friend wanted to celebrate their child's birthday in my party room because according to them, it's a special number they're turning. I asked why she can't use her own home, and she said it's because mine is kid-friendly. I told her I would prefer if she had the party elsewhere, like a community center, or maybe like another like public event space, but she came back to me a few weeks later saying they were too expensive or even like far away, and then asked again if she can use my place for the party. She said by booking our space, she would be saving hundreds of dollars on the venue. Now, I agreed with the caveat that we keep it to a maximum number of people. We keep it to the booking time, and she has to get her own guests from the lobby. It was important to clarify this to her because my partner and I had hosted a huge party for her a year prior, which had way more people invited, and we found ourselves not really enjoying ourselves the whole time as we had to monitor the guests and retrieve people from the lobby throughout the entire event because many guests came later than the stated start time on the invitations. We also didn't enjoy attending the party because we were busy setting up, coordinating the games, monitoring the guests, and just cleaning the room afterwards. Well, 2 weeks before her child's birthday party, she tells me that she wants to change the party time to an hour later due to her child's change in nap times. She also went over my maximum number of guests because she had already invited people before I had agreed, and it would be too awkward to disinvite them. Plus, all the grandparents had to come as well. Well, I told her I will not be canceling the booking, and if we can keep it to the original time, that would be preferred. She eventually told me to cancel the party because I seemed way too stressed out. And mind you, I was willing to work with her, but she was unwilling to compromise. She also didn't offer to compensate for my time and efforts, only offering to pay the cost of the room booking that my strata charges for the room, which was also the case for the previous big party that we hosted for her. I then found out through social media that she still had a big birthday party for her child, but neither my partner nor myself were invited. We feel hurt because it seems like she only wanted us there if we could provide the venue and coordinate the event. And I also have to mention that we live in a luxury condo with a lot of amenities near the city center. We also feel like she took advantage of our living situation and has been treating our home like a community center for her to impress all of her friends with. We do not feel like guests that can enjoy these parties because there's so much liability and there's work to do when the parties are held in our home. She also asked me earlier this year if she could use one of my party rooms for her birthday party, which she eventually decided not to do because she didn't want to clean up at the end of the night. So yeah, when it's all said and done, we kind of get left in the dust, and I don't really know how to feel about this. Yeah, your friend sucks. This is not a good friend at all. They literally used you just because you had like a party space available, and it seems like you're in a kind of like rich neighborhood. So yeah, you are absolutely like spot on. She probably used you just to be like, wow, look at the space we got. So yeah, I don't blame you for being upset. I would feel the same way, and honestly, that friend sucks, and hopefully you don't have to deal with her in the future. This next story is proof that just because you're old, it doesn't mean you're gonna get away with being a jerk. As the original poster deals with this elderly person who suddenly turns into the victim the second they're confronted for all the stupid things they literally just did. Here's what happened. Okay, so I had a doctor's appointment over an hour away, and I'd been waiting more than a month for it. I arrived about 5 minutes before the appointment, and parking there is always crowded, but I can usually find something if I just look for it. But this time, every spot was taken. But then, right in front of the doctor's office, the car ahead of me pulled out of a space. And you know what? I immediately turned on my blinker and started parallel parking right into it. I was already halfway in when an older lady suddenly stepped into the space and said, "You can't park there because I'm saving it for someone else." Well, I then told her, sorry, but I was there first. I was already pulling in, and I had a doctor's appointment literally in minutes. But guess what? She refused to move. I then told her that what she was doing was illegal, but she said, "I don't care, I'm not gonna move." I then got angry and said that if she kept blocking it, then nobody would use the spot. We then stayed there for about 10 minutes. There were no other spaces nearby, and this was my only chance of making the appointment. She then started taking pictures of my license plate and saying things like, "We'll see who wins this. You'll find out real quick who you're dealing with." I then started recording her, and then I just called emergency services. And when I talked to the operator, they confirmed that yeah, what she was doing was illegal and that they're sending the police. A few minutes later, when she got distracted looking for the car she was saving the space for, I just quickly finished parking, in which she then walked away, still threatening me. I called the doctor's office to explain I might be late because of the incident, but they said they couldn't hold the appointment. I was the last patient of the day, so the doctor had left, meaning that I missed an appointment I'd waited over a month for. When the police finally arrived, I showed them the videos and I explained everything, to which they absolutely confirmed that yeah, she was in the wrong. We then found her at a nearby restaurant, and her daughter came out and started insulting me for supposedly harassing an old woman. But as you can probably expect, when the police confronted the older woman, she suddenly acted so innocent. The police then asked whether I wanted to pursue the matter further since I had suffered a financial loss by missing the appointment, and after hearing that money is the problem, she offered to pay me for my loss. But I just said I don't want any money. I just want her to admit she was wrong and promise not to do this to anyone again. And once she agreed to that, I just let it go. But honestly, now I feel conflicted. She was elderly, and I did call the police over a parking spot, but she blocked me, she threatened me, and caused me to miss an important medical appointment. So am I really the jerk here? Because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, I gotta be honest right now, because I hate this argument of like, oh, they're old, I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to do this to that old person. Yeah, if they're old enough to stand in a parking spot and threaten you, then they're old enough to know that this behavior is not acceptable. Like, bro, just because you're old does not give you a pass. You're not a toddler. It's not like you don't know any better. I don't care who you are. If you're gonna be acting like that, then congratulations, you're gonna get some big boy consequences. Because you can't just block someone and be like, oh, we'll see who wins this. You're gonna find out real quick who you're dealing with. Yeah, I'm dealing with a lying old woman who's gonna act like the victim when suddenly they're confronted with the consequences of their actions. Like, could you say boomer behavior? Holy crap. So no, you're not the jerk, and honestly, if I was in your shoes, I would have escalated. I absolutely would have like personally escalated this as far as I can, because I can't stand people who act like this, and they definitely need to be put in their place. Today, my boyfriend literally punched 15 holes in a wall, all because I wanted to talk about something going on, as his constant angry outbursts have really worn me down, and at this point, I seriously just don't know what to do about it. Here's what's happening. Okay, so I've been with my boyfriend for coming up 5 years, and we've had the same routine ever since we first got together. Basically, I go to his family home for 3 nights, then I come home to my place for 3 nights, and yet, even with all that, he still, after 5 years, says that he needs his own space, which I do have negative thoughts about, but if it works for him, then it is what it is. Now, going into the situation, he is quite an angry person, and I'm quite careful with how I bring things up with things that either he said or done, or even just things that I feel like I'd like to talk about and have a calm conversation about. Honestly, I hate conflict. I hate being shouted at, and when he does, I ask him if he can just please stop shouting at me. But his reply is always to say, oh, you've pissed me off. I can talk to you however I like. Or he'll say to me, oh, don't tell me to be quiet because it really pisses me off. So I've never really been one to argue back back, like ever. It's basically me bringing up something calmly, and then straight away he gets his back up and feels like it's an attack, and he just can't do anything right. It always gets flipped against me, and it always ends up with me crying and him telling me to get lost, or even him telling me to pack my crap because he's taking me home. Most of the time it ends in me crying and him telling me to shut up or be quiet in bed, and he'll just roll over and go right to sleep. Now this day was our last day together until I went home again, and I felt like we hadn't really spent quality time together, and I just wanted to tell him how I felt. I felt lonely, and I told him this. I said to him that I feel like on the days that we see each other, we should make the effort between us to book something or like go out of the house. I've had years of sitting in his bedroom while he goes to like the golf course or has nights out with his friends on the days that I'm with him. And it's fine, I guess, but I see that he puts more effort in with his friends than with me, and it quickly becomes a case of me just sitting in his house all day. I cook dinner for him, and then we're just sleeping, and then going home for another 3 days. I kind of just felt like I was wasting my time, basically. But he told me that it's difficult, and he can't fit me, his friends, and family in, and he made it very clear that apparently, oh, I can't help it if I've got a social life, but you don't have one. Now, up to this point, he was shouting and swearing at me, and I just walked out and went for a walk for like about an hour. I've come back, and he's now sitting on his bed on his phone, and he doesn't even look up at me when I've come in. I've sat on the bed at this point, and I've asked him what's happening, and that I really just needed to walk a bit just to try and like clear my head. But he responded back to me by saying, no, you didn't. You walked out to see if I'd come after you. I then tried to continue carrying on the conversation about spending more quality time together, and he basically just says, okay, whatever. And it's like, I've asked him politely if he can at least look up from his phone to talk to me, but he just responds back by saying, oh, don't talk to me like I'm a child. And at this very moment, I'm crying. Like, I hate feeling like I've made him angry and that this is my fault, and I just felt so guilty. Why did I even bring it up in the first place? Like, none of this would have happened. I said to him, look, if we could just please sort this out, like, I do understand that he finds it hard to balance everyone, but I really feel like I'm just his spare time. For reference, he would always pick me up late because he'd be at the golf course with his friends, which would always leave us like, I don't know, 2 hours to spend time together before another 40-hour work week. And his response was always to say, okay, but I don't see picking you up as a plan. I mean, we aren't doing anything anyways. But I got upset because I know how this goes. I bring something up, he gets angry, it's my fault for being sensitive, upset, etc. He'll ignore me and refuse to talk about it, and I'll be told to stop crying and to go to sleep, and there will literally be no resolution. He then stands up and starts swearing and shouting, and at this moment, he punches about 15 holes in the wall, and he's literally shaking with rage. Then he walks out of the room down the hallway while I'm on his bedroom floor in tears, blaming myself for all of this. It's like, okay, maybe I pushed him to do it. I mean, I did make him angry. I wanted to talk about something again, and it just blew up again. I mean, I never learned my lesson with this. Like, this is my fault, right? His mom came upstairs and went to him, and he was hugging him, which made me feel even more guilty for all of this. So honestly, what's everybody's opinions? I really need help with this. I don't really have anyone to talk to about this, as I don't want to get my family involved, and his family has said to me that, oh, it's just tiring with him being with someone who's so insecure and anxious. So I don't talk to them either. What should I do? Bro, I want to bang my head against my microphone. Are you kidding me? Why are you still with this guy? This guy is dangerous. He's punching holes in the walls. I can understand like maybe one in like a fit of rage if something really bad happened. Like if my car exploded outside in the parking lot, yeah, I would punch a hole in the wall. Like that would really piss me off. That'd be like, oh my gosh, I have no way of getting around. Hello, hole in the wall. But then like after that, I'd be like, oh man, my hand hurts because I punched, a hole in the wall. And here we have Mike Tyson being like, I'm about to punch 15 of these. It's like, dude, what is going on right now? That's crazy behavior. And I'm not speaking in like a metaphorical sense of like, that's so crazy. I mean like, no, this is actually some crazy behavior. The guy refuses to talk to you. He has the maturity level of a child, and yet he is literally a 26-year-old man is what I'm saying. And it's like, dude, you really can't talk to your girlfriend about, oh, I don't know, neglecting her, and then freaking out anytime she's like, hey, I really want to spend time with you. And he's like, don't talk to me. How dare you? Don't talk to me like I'm a child. And it's like, bro, you need some like medicine. You need some help. Don't take it out on your girlfriend. Like, holy crap. And my God, they've dealt with this for 5 years. Dude, I wouldn't last 5 days of this. Like, what's happening? So in my opinion, original poster, you need to break up with this guy. You need to get out while the getting's good. He does not sound safe. He is probably going to be violent towards you next, and that is seriously unsafe. So like, you need to do something sooner than later. And that involves like cutting him off, getting away from him, and breaking up. Because honestly, everything you described here is not normal. It made me feel uneasy just reading it, and I can only imagine the kind of stress you're going through all the time. This sounds miserable, and I think you can do way better than this guy. Seriously, get out while you can. Today I broke up with my girlfriend after she said we should be in an open relationship. But after I did that, literally my entire life fell apart in a way that has seriously messed me up because right now my family's falling apart and I don't know what to do. Welcome back to Am I the Jerk, the only show where you can find out just how bad someone else's relationship can truly get. And this first story definitely takes the cake, so strap in for this one. Subscribe to Am I the Jerk and click the bell to turn on notifications. Let's get started. Okay, for a bit of background between me and my girlfriend, our families have a lot of history together. Our parents were college friends, and so they decided to move close to each other. So I've literally known her since we were kids, and we saw each other almost every day, even in the weekends outside of like school days. Our parents had been playing matchmaker, I guess, but I asked her out when we were in high school, and I won't lie, I was very happy with her, and we even took a gap year to just travel together. So last year, I moved into my university campus because it's like a 2-hour commute with a train from my house, and I really just don't want to wake up at 5 in the morning just to get to an 8 o'clock class. Meanwhile, she stayed with her parents and she went to a local college, which was like a 10-minute drive from our neighborhood. And of course, I tried to visit each weekend if I wasn't busy with studying. So 2 weeks ago, while I was visiting, she just seemed a little bit off, like the same way she was when she wanted to give me a present or something like that. So after a while, she eventually tells me what she was hiding, and she brings up having an open relationship. Now, I personally never would be in one, and for me, things like intimacy are supposed to be monogamous. And when I'm hearing this, I'm kind of sitting there in shock because the girl I honestly thought I was gonna marry is telling me she wants to sleep around. And at this point, like, I just ask her if she has anybody in mind, and she again becomes a little nervous and admits she has a guy in mind. And this part is what I would definitely do differently, but at this moment, I literally lose my temper. And while I don't really scream, I do shout at her, and I basically called her unfaithful alongside some other stuff, which again was not okay. At this point, she's crying, and I'm like grabbing my jacket to leave. And as she starts apologizing, she starts to like ugly cry, saying that she should have never brought it up and basically pleading for me not to leave, angry with her, and that we should at least talk about it first, but I just straight up leave. I just went back to my campus, which wasn't ideal because my usual 2-hour ride is like a 4-hour ride by nighttime thanks to less trains running. And like by the next day, I'm guessing my mom had found out, and so she's calling me, and at this point, my anger is still at its peak. So I just call my girlfriend some nasty words over the phone, and I call her unfaithful, and my mom flips out on me, which in hindsight, I understand, but like I just hung up on her. Ever since, my mom still calls me and messages me every day, but my breaking point came along when my dad of all people called me and told me to at least hear it out and talk to my girlfriend. And he also mentioned that she wasn't eating well and was skipping her classes. But I honestly think that's some guilt-tripping BS that her parents probably told my parents. I'm just so conflicted because my dad usually is not the type of person to like involve him in these kinds of things, and even he called me. So I'm really conflicted, and I'm wondering if I should actually listen to my dad and give her a chance to like explain herself, or if that's just gonna make things worse for me. Like, how do I know if it's even worth sitting down and talking it out like they want me to? Because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, before I even begin to jump into this, and trust me, there is so much I could say right now, the original poster has an update that they want to share, and this is exactly what they said. Okay, so as some of you told me in the comment section, I gave my part of the story to my dad, and he replied a few hours later, and to put it shortly, he didn't know even the half of it. And surprisingly, my uncle, so his best friend, and my girlfriend's father also didn't know what was going on. The only two people who actually knew what happened outside of me breaking up with her suddenly was my mom and hers. And what really makes this so crappy is that like 2 hours after that, my mom calls me crying and asks me if I'm happy that my dad basically screamed at her, and that I'm potentially ruining 2 marriages over a harmless question. Because from what she told me, my uncle wasn't too happy either being left in the dark. Like at this point, I just hung up on her because seriously, I'm already under a lot of mental stress. And now knowing that 2 long-time relationships are potentially being ruined by me has honestly put me in a situation where I'm really doubting myself. I just tried to focus on like making a project at the internship I'm at, but I think I messed it up, so there's that as well. But then today, I suddenly get multiple calls from my mom in the morning, and to put it in a way that can actually make the video, the girlfriend in this story essentially tried to permanently hurt herself and is now in the hospital, if you know what I mean. I don't even remember most of the conversation, but I just went home as fast as possible, and I spent like maybe $900 on like a taxi, I think. I don't know, it's funny that I remember things like this, but not the conversation about my mom telling me that my girlfriend attempted something really bad. So I guess I'm just mentally ill because apparently my brain doesn't find that too important. So maybe it's justified that I got slapped after being brought to the hospital, because of course my girlfriend's mom did that. So yeah, I don't know, it's just such a mess right now in my head at the moment. I'm sorry I can't get better detailed story, but like I remember being angry and screaming at her after she slap me because like, why am I being blamed for any of this? And I'm just under a lot of stress at the moment. And it just seems like everything is going wrong all at once. Like I've done literally nothing wrong to anybody. So why is this happening to me? Like 4 weeks ago, everything was going fine. Why can't she just like be normal and not ask that stupid question? The one good part is that my dad is at my side. He just brought me back home after my fight in the hospital, and I've been just drinking a lot of beer with him. I love my dad. I'm happy he's on my side, and I honestly just don't know what I would have done without him. Okay, this is some crazy stuff. First off, you are not to blame for your girlfriend hurting herself. Seriously, there's a lot to unpack here, but that first and foremost is not your fault. She made that choice, not you, dude. And yes, it's terrible, and I'm glad she's alive. But seriously, dude, how can anyone possibly be like, this is your fault? What, because you broke up with her and like stormed out after she essentially said, yeah, I want to have an open relationship? Which, by the way, raise your hand if you think that's a terrible idea. I don't know of any relationship that's ever worked out where it's like, let's just sleep around with other people. Like, what are we talking about? That's not a good idea. That's only going to cause like a ton of problems. If anything, it's just like a few steps away from cheating. And if you ask me, like seriously, if you ask me and my hunch, I bet your girlfriend was already cheating on you. And she's like, hey, let's have an open relationship. There just so happens to be this guy that, oh, I don't know, he might be fun. Bull crap, dude. She probably was already sleeping with him. And so her being like, let's be in an open relationship might have been her only way of being like, hey, let me stop feeling guilty about this by you being okay with it, which is messed up. Like that really is sketchy. So no, you're not the jerk, you haven't done anything wrong, and I think breaking up with your girlfriend in that moment is something I definitely would have done. Like, I don't know, maybe I would have like fought back a little bit and been like, are you kidding me? That's not happening. We're not doing anything like that. But I think the way you handled it is completely justified as well. You have every right to be like, I don't want to be with you anymore. See ya, I'm going back to college. But on that same note, since we kind of brought it up, your parents getting involved and not knowing the full details, or your mom knowing the details and still being like, oh, just stay with her, it's fine. It's just a harmless question. Yeah, but what's that question implying, lady? Like, dude, what are we talking about? Like, that in and of itself is so sketchy, and that's so messed up. So yeah, this whole situation is crazy. I'm so sorry you're going through this, and I'm sorry that everyone's picking the wrong side in this scenario, or even attempting permanent, terrible decisions like that. Like, dude, that's not a good idea. That doesn't solve anything, and I'm really glad the girlfriend's alive. So yeah, this really sucks, and hopefully you're able to find a way through it. If you like Am I the Jerk and what we're doing over here, please check out Am I the Genius. It's going to be linked down below in the description. Just click and go ahead and subscribe to them. And also, if you have your own stories you want to submit, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you want to submit your own stories. We're reading them all the time and we're picking out the best ones, so trust me, we would love to hear what you have to say. Am I the jerk for possibly ruining my husband's friend's only chance to get married? Because things right now are getting very spicy, and at this point, I really just don't know what to do about this. Here's what's going on. Okay, so my husband has a friend who we will call John for the sake of the story, and John's wife recently passed away after a long and difficult illness. Less than half a month after her death, he started using dating apps and meeting new women. Now, the problem is that John is an alcoholic, he's unemployed, and overall, he's not really a good person if you ask me. His late wife went through a lot because of him, and their relationship was very unhealthy. Now, John lives in another country, but he often visits ours because his late wife was from here. And on top of that, he dates women from here. Well, recently, I visited a close friend of mine who I will call Lucy for the sake of the story. She's been single for a long time and has had difficult experiences with past partners. Because of that, she struggled for a while and avoided dating. During my visit, she had told me that she had met a very charming and kind man and that they were planning to get married soon. And from what she said, I realized she was talking about John. Now, I was happy she started dating again, but I could not let her marry someone like him. So I told her the truth, that he has serious issues, he doesn't work, and he's not someone who would treat her very well at all. I warned her that she could end up in a very bad situation. When I said this, she was shocked, but promised that she would end things with him. A few days later, John called me asking why Lucy wasn't responding, and I said, well, I don't know. But then the next day, he called me again while drunk, accusing me of ruining his chances to get married, and said, oh, you're gonna pay for it. And now my husband is asking me to apologize and fix the situation. He really believes John might change if he marries Lucy, but I really don't believe that. I mean, he didn't even change when his wife was seriously ill. I'm honestly really worried for Lucy, especially since he could take her to another country where she might not know her rights. I believe I did the right thing, but honestly, what do you think? Am I seriously the jerk here? Because right now, I don't know what to do. Okay, your husband's an idiot, bro. Is he really trying to be like, oh yeah, if he marries Lucy, then he's gonna be a better person
bastard from here on out. Just let him do it. You need to apologize and make things right.
It's like, no, dude, you helped your friend like dodge a train, bro. Like, what is happening right now? The fact that he's an alcoholic and that he's not working and he's just not a good person is already like a big enough red flag itself. But this guy straight up threatened you, dude. He's like, oh, you're gonna pay for it. Meanwhile, your husband's like plugging his ears and going, la 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 la, you gotta like apologize to John, do it right now. And it's like, dude, your wife was just threatened. Like, what are we doing right now? John said he's gonna do something and oh, your wife's gonna pay for it. As if we're in Game of Thrones. Like, what are we doing, bro? This is weird. So like, I'm blown away that your husband's just completely overlooking the biggest red flag on the planet and instead trying to be like, wow, you need to apologize and make things right. But it's like, no, bro, I think I need to make like, I don't know, a police report or something. Like, what's going on right now? So no, you're not the jerk. This is some weird behavior that I really just don't think is healthy. And I seriously think your husband is being so foolish for not taking this seriously. Because at the end of the day, you were just helping out a friend. And honestly, if you know John's not a good fit for her and you clearly know information that she doesn't know, then it's kind of your responsibility to step up and say something before it's too late. My entitled coworker has a habit of snatching things out of employees' hands, especially if he needs it right away. But after he did this to me one too many times, I decided to get some petty revenge, showing him exactly how obnoxious his behavior is by giving him a much-needed taste of his own medicine, resulting in one of the most childish outbursts I've ever seen from a grown man in my life. Here's pretty much how it all went down. Okay, so I have this colleague who I will call George, who's in his like late 50s, who has a nasty habit of taking things out of people's hands without even asking. Stuff like files, memos, communal snacks, etc. I don't believe it's malicious because he does it to literally everybody, and George is a bit spacey. We lovingly call him Goldfish George. He's been here forever and is only a few years away from retirement. His behavior causes some office strife, but people just mostly ignore it. Well, that is except for me. I absolutely hate having things snatched out of my hands. I have no other issue with George. He and I have carpooled together on several occasions, and we get along just great. Well, right up until I open a pack of gum and he grabs a stick before I've even gotten one. I've discussed it with George more than once. I would say stuff like, dude, just ask. I promise I'll give you some if I can. Think of it this way, if I hand you my wallet, that's fine. But if you snatch my wallet out of my bag, that's stealing. Every time we have the conversation, George swears he understands and that he'll stop. But guess what? Then he does it again. Sometimes it's not so bad. If we're in the break room and he grabs a handful of popcorn I happen to be holding, I mean, whatever. But last week, he stole a pen from literally between my fingers while I was filling out a form, all because he had to write down his very important idea. It left a giant pen mark on my form too, by the way, and I had to get a new one. So at this point, I decided that I basically had enough and that the next time he grabs something without asking, I'd simply snatch it right back. Then he'd finally understand how annoying it was. Well, long story short, my plan didn't go very well. Yesterday, I was in the break room eating a big bag of communal chips, and it's here, as expected, that George came in and yanked them from me. Well, I immediately snatched the bag back and I said, ask please, George, we've talked about this. And then with that, I held the bag out to him. He then huffed and grabbed it so aggressively, it split it wide open. It was only like a quarter full, but we had to clean up the mess and George was not very pleased. He told me that I made him feel like a child, and maybe my here's a taste of your own medicine plan was childish. But really guys, I need to know, like, am I the jerk here? Did I really react so out of pocket here? Because right now I am just so confused and I don't know what to do. Okay, I'm gonna say this outright. I hate George. George sucks. George is like the worst coworker on planet Earth. When is it ever okay to do that to somebody? Like, seriously? Like, this guy's walking around like he's the king of the universe.
Oh, I've been here forever. That means I can take your pens if I want to.
And then when you give him a taste of his own medicine, he reacts like, nah, give me that. And he like freaks out on you. Like, what are we doing, dude? You just split the bag of chips in half. You literally had a temper tantrum like you're a toddler, all because I returned the favor. And by the way, what you're asking right now is not at all unreasonable. Seriously, no functioning adult should act this way. I don't care who you are. Which kind of leads me to believe that because this guy's been here since, oh, I don't know, since the earth was cooling, and he's worked here pretty much forever, he feels somehow entitled to snatch things out of people's hands right as they're using it, simply because,
oh yeah, I've been here forever. I could do whatever I want.
And it's so funny because this guy's like, wow, you made me feel like a child. And it's like, dude, you're literally acting like one. You're taking things out of people's hands and you're trying to act like this is okay. Like, what are we doing? And the way he's acting is probably like a fake personality. He's probably got this all worked out where it's like,
oh yeah, if I act like I just don't know what's going on and just take things from people, then I can get away with it.
But it's like, no, dude, you can't. Your actions now have like serious consequences. And I know if I was in the original poster shoes, I would start doing this all the time. I would start snatching things back like it's nobody's business, dude. There's no reason for this. So no, you're not the jerk. If anything, you're doing God's work in this office, because I guarantee you there's other people around you who feel the same way, but they're just not brave enough to say anything because they just don't want the drama. My dad went through my phone while I was sleeping during a family visit and then confronted me the next morning about my therapy sessions, putting me in a situation that honestly was very uncomfortable because right now I don't know what to do about this. Here's what's going on, and yes, things are about to get really weird. Okay, so I went home for a few days to visit family, and honestly, everything was fine. It was a pretty normal visit, and when I went to sleep that night, I had forgotten my phone on the kitchen table, and when I woke up the next morning, my dad sits me down at breakfast and starts asking questions about things that could only have come from my phone itself, specifically from my conversations with my therapist, where I talk about, among other things, my relationship with my parents and things from my childhood that I've been working through. I then asked him directly how he knew any of that, and he just didn't even deny it. He said to me,
I was worried about you and I needed to know you were okay.
And then immediately pivoted to being upset about the content of what I had written to my therapist, as if the method of finding it was not the entire problem here.
He said things like, I can't believe you talk about our family like that to a stranger after everything we've done for you.
And I just sat there trying to figure out which violation to address first, because there were so many stacked on top of each other. So he literally went through my phone and read my therapy conversations, and then he confronted me about my private mental health work as if he was the one who had been wronged here. Well, I left that day and I'm home now, but he's been calling and my mom keeps texting that I'm being dramatic
and that he was just concerned.
And I just don't know how to explain to them that concern doesn't give you the right to do what he did, and that the fact that he genuinely can't see why this was wrong is somehow more upsetting than the thing itself. So honestly, has anyone been through something like this before and actually managed to have a productive conversation with a parent afterwards? Or is that just not possible when they don't think that they did anything wrong? What should I do? Wow, your dad sucks. Seriously. And the fact that your mom's trying to be like,
he is just worried about you. You're being overdramatic. You know, us reading your private thoughts about what we did to you as a kid. What's the big deal?
It's like, dude, you should be showing just a little bit more remorse than this because this is crazy. It's like the entire reason you're going to therapy is because of these people. They're the ones that caused this. So if they're trying to be like,
oh, wow, I can't believe you would talk about our family like that to a stranger.
It's like, no, dude, this isn't a stranger. This is literally the person that's going to help me get over the crap you did to me. So yeah, on all ends, your dad is absolutely at fault. He should not have gone through your phone under the guise of like,
oh yeah, I'm just concerned.
Because guess what, buddy? I have privacy rights just like you do. I'm pretty sure if you pulled up his search history online, you'd probably find some things he wouldn't want you to see. And I guarantee you that if the shoe was on the other foot, he would be freaking out right now. But also for him to be like, wow, all these things that I did to you, you're telling other people? Like, my God, dude, you gotta be kidding me right now. And the part that pisses me off is that he will probably never be sorry for going through your stuff. He clearly only sees you as like a child still and doesn't see you as a full-fledged adult. And he still thinks that he can go through your stuff and this be somehow okay. Which guess what? It's not. It was never okay. So yeah, I'm so sorry you're going through this because your dad had no right to do that. Like, not even for a second. Am I the jerk for charging my roommate's girlfriend rent after she practically moved in without asking? Because what started as visiting a few nights a week has essentially become her living here full time. And now I'm kind of looking at the numbers and I want her to start paying rent as well, especially if she basically lives here, which has, as you can imagine, caused a lot of drama that seriously I just don't want to deal with. Here's what's currently going on. Okay, so I have a roommate and we split the rent 50-50. Also, we're in a 2-bedroom apartment, so the place isn't really that big. His girlfriend has basically been staying over more and more. And at first, it was just the weekends, then a few nights a week, but now she's here every single night. She's basically moved in. Her stuff is everywhere. She uses our bathroom, kitchen, and utilities. She's here when I wake up and when I go to bed. And I told my roommate that if she's living here, then she needs to pay rent. But he said, oh, she's just visiting, and that apparently I'm being ridiculous. I then said that visiting is occasional. But at this point, I mean, come on, she lives here now.
He said, okay, well, we're saving money for our own place, and that this is temporary.
So I went back and I calculated that rent should be split 3 ways if 3 people are living here, and that would literally save me like $300 a month. I then told him either she starts contributing or she can't stay here anymore. He then said that I'm being a greedy jerk over his girlfriend visiting. But I said to him, dude, she's not visiting. She's a resident. She's here every single day. He then says that I'm trying to control his relationship and that I'm jealous that he has a girlfriend. But dude, I'm not jealous. I'm tired of subsidizing her living here. I'm paying for space that she is literally using. So I gave him an ultimatum. She either pays 1/3 of the rent starting next month, or she can't be here more than 3 nights a week. And now, as a result, they're both calling me names and saying I'm trying to break them up. His parents even called me saying that I'm being unreasonable. But seriously, am I really out of line here? 3 people really should split rent 3 ways. Like, am I the jerk? Because I don't know what to do anymore. I'm so annoyed. Okay, I always hate dealing with people like this, and just hear me out. It's the kind of person who refuses to address the problem that they're causing, and instead they circle around and they like cherry pick these arguments that are just not happening. They'll talk about how like, oh, well, she's just visiting. You're trying to break us up. You're jealous because you don't have a girlfriend and I do. And it's like, no, dude, none of that's relevant. You know what is relevant? Your girlfriend's staying here every single night. Her crap is probably scattered all over that apartment, dude. I guarantee you she's occupied all the space that you could possibly want. So for this guy to sit there and be like, wow, you're gonna break us up over this. It's like, bro, if your relationship is so fragile that me saying, hey, she's gotta pay rent somehow disrupts the synergy between the two of you, then guess what? You didn't have a good relationship at all. If anything, you've got a girlfriend who's taking advantage of everybody and putting the roommate in a situation where they have to agree to this. Oh, you've gotta let me stay there for free. We're saving up for our own place. Meanwhile, this lady's probably homeless. She's probably got nowhere to go. So she's just squatting here saying, oh yeah, if you at all make me pay rent, then I'm gonna have to break up with you. Like, all of this is ridiculous. This is all so stupid, dude. Because I'm right there with the original poster. Don't even get this twisted. If someone is staying there suddenly full time, then congratulations. It's been more than 30 days, you've officially moved in, and you absolutely have to start paying rent. Because dude, $300 a month can go a long way. Maybe not so much nowadays with the economy, but that's a whole different story. But seriously, that's still $300 extra that I was normally just lighting on fire in my living room. And it also sounds like if this lady paid, then everybody would pay less. So no, you're not unreasonable for asking for rent. This guy's a complete moron for trying to defend this. And it is hilarious in my opinion that this guy's trying to blame his failing relationship on you being like, hey, start paying rent. Because you have nothing to do with that, and any problems they have is theirs to figure out and not yours. My boyfriend turned my apartment into a nightclub without my permission, as he hosted a party for all of his friends which lasted all night, resulting in me coming in at 7 in the morning with everybody passed out drunk. But now I've broken up with him and he's saying that I'm the one that overreacted, and at this point I really don't know what to do. Welcome back to Am I the Jerk, the only show where you can find out just how bad it can get when you give your partner a spare key to your apartment. Because this first story is proof that yeah, things can get way worse than you expect. Subscribe to Am I the Jerk and turn on notifications to never miss a video. Let's get started. Okay, for starters, I want to say that I broke up with my boyfriend yesterday and I've been getting non-stop calls. And at this point, I really need some outside opinions because I'm starting to second guess myself. For a bit of context, we've been dating for about a year and we don't live together. I have my own apartment that I worked really hard to get, and this place is my quiet space. I work 12-hour shifts as a nurse, so when I get home, I'm completely drained and I just want peace. Meanwhile, my boyfriend lives with 3 roommates in a chaotic house. So we usually just hang out at my place if anything. I gave him a spare key a few weeks ago, but we agreed it was strictly for emergencies. Well, last weekend I had a brutal overnight shift. I came home at around 7 o'clock in the morning, completely exhausted. I tried to open my front door, but it got stuck. When I pushed harder, I realized it was stuck because someone was passed out on the floor right inside my entryway. The smell of cheap alcohol and sweat hit me instantly. I walked in and my apartment was completely trashed. There were sticky spills on the floor, empty bottles on all my counters, and about 15 random people sleeping on my couch, my rugs, and even in my bathtub. I then stormed into my bedroom and my boyfriend was dead asleep in my bed. Still wearing his shoes too, by the way. I woke him up and I was shaking. I was so mad. He told me to chill out and said that he just wanted to host his buddy's birthday party. He then said his own place was too messy to host, but he didn't even ask me first because he knew I would say no. Now, I didn't even yell. I just told him to wake up his friends, get out of my apartment, and leave my key on the kitchen counter. I told him we are completely done. And so he left, but ever since yesterday, he's been texting me nonstop. He says I overreacted, that nothing was broken, which is a complete lie, like one of my lamps is shattered, and that apparently I embarrassed him in front of his friends by kicking them out in the morning. Even a couple of his friends messaged me on Instagram calling me uptight and a toxic girlfriend. I spent my entire day off cleaning my floors and washing my sheets. I feel incredibly disrespected, but some mutual friends are saying I should have just talked to him instead of ending a 1-year relationship over a single party. So seriously, am I honestly the jerk here? Like, was I ethically wrong for just dumping him on the spot instead of hearing him out? I need to know what the internet thinks because right now I seriously don't know what to do. Okay, dude, if I was with someone and they did something like this, I would be so pissed off, dude. There's no way I would ever put up with this. So in my opinion, I think you're right to dump this guy. Like, he sucks. He took advantage of you having a key and was like,
Okay, let's throw the biggest party ever.
like, did he really not think that you were going to walk in and be like, oh my God, the man of my dreams? Like, no, dude, you passed out with all your friends around is not a good look. So yeah, your boyfriend sucks and it was a good thing to break up with him. I think what he did was completely unacceptable and there's literally no excuse. If you like Am I the Jerk and what we're doing over here, please check out Am I the Genius. It's going to be linked down below in the description. Just click and go ahead and subscribe to them. And also, if you have your own stories you want to submit, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you want to submit your own stories. We're reading them all the time and we're picking out the best ones, so trust me, we would love to hear what you have to say. Today, I interviewed a candidate who literally had his dad with him at the job interview, as this guy literally walked into the middle of the interview and tried to take over, which essentially destroyed his son's chance at even getting the job. Here's what happened. Okay, so I work in human resources and I've seen a lot of weird stuff over the years, but what happened 2 days ago is genuinely in a league of its own and I needed to tell somebody. So we had a candidate coming in for an entry-level marketing position. They're in their mid-20s, they seem fine on paper, but as he shows up, there's a guy with him who I assume was maybe just a ride or waiting in the lobby or something like that. But no, they literally both walk up to the reception desk together, and the dad, and yes, as you may have guessed from the title, it was his dad, and I confirmed this later on, introduced himself by name and says he's here to support his son through the process. I then pulled the candidate aside and explained as nicely as I could that interviews are conducted one-on-one, and that his dad was welcome to wait in the lobby. The candidate looked genuinely panicked and said to me, well, can he just sit in? I mean, he won't say anything. And there was a brief whispered conversation between them that I was not supposed to hear, but I absolutely did hear it. And then the candidate came back and said, okay, fine. And we went to the interview room. Now, everything was fine for like maybe 4 or 5 minutes. Like, it really was normal. Then my colleague asked the candidate to walk us through a time when he had handled a difficult situation at work. And my God, before the candidate could even open his mouth, the door opens up, the dad walks in, he sits down in the empty chair next to his son and says, oh, I can handle this one. He handled something really well in his last internship. And he then tried to go on and explain the situation. When we asked him to leave, he actually started arguing, saying that we're putting his son in an unnecessarily stressful situation. And at this point, the candidate was staring at the table the whole time, and I honestly felt bad for him because it's happening at home clearly a lot. And as you probably guessed, we didn't move forward with the candidate. Not because of him exactly, but because if this was like a job interview, then I genuinely cannot imagine what onboarding would even begin to look like. Oh my gosh, bro, this would be my living nightmare. Seriously, I can understand parents being like, oh, do a good job at this interview, you're gonna do great. But it's an entirely different animal for your dad to show up and be like, oh, don't worry, son, I'll handle this one. It's like, no, you're not gonna handle any of this. You're gonna scamper on back to the car and let me do what I need to do as, you know, an adult. To live your life with your parents' thumb over your head, specifically the dad in this situation, where it's like, oh yeah, I'll do all the talking, my son is just, you know, he's under a lot of stress. But it's like, dude, if he really can't have, like, I don't know, an interview for an entry-level position, then he seriously needs to get some things figured out and maybe take some classes on building confidence or something. Like, I don't know, like, you've got to figure that out. But from the sounds of it, it doesn't seem like the candidate wanted like anything to do with what his dad was doing. He clearly wanted his dad to stay out of this and be like, hey, please don't show up. But the dad was probably overbearing and said, oh no, I'm gonna be there for you. I'm gonna make sure you get this job. And also, this is an entry-level position. Those jobs are really hard to find nowadays. So the fact that the dad in this story screwed this up for their son is so embarrassing and just so uncalled for. My roommate literally told me to just clean around his stuff in the bathroom as he's angry every time I move stuff around. So I decided to maliciously comply in a way that made him look very stupid, so much so that even his girlfriend had a good laugh about it. Here's what happened. Okay, so I share a small apartment with my one roommate and we mostly get along, but our one repeat issue is the bathroom counter. I like wiping it down every few days because it's tiny and starts looking gross really fast, but he treats it like a personal storage unit. He'll have his trimmer, his toothpaste, his deodorant, his nail clippers, his floss. He'll have 2 combs, a random receipt, and all of this is just living around the sink. Normally when I clean, I move everything to one side. I wipe the counter and then I put it back. Well, a couple weeks ago, he got annoyed and said I never put his stuff back right. I then asked him what right meant because from my angle, it looked like total chaos anyways. He then got snappy and said, then don't touch my stuff. If you want to clean, just clean around it. So this past Saturday, that's exactly what I did. I cleaned the sink, the faucet, the mirror, and every bit of counter space I could reach without moving a single item. I wiped carefully little borders around the trimmer, around the deodorant, around the combs, even around a bottle of mouthwash, and a lone contact case that I am still not sure was empty. When I finished, the whole counter looked absurd. It was spotless, like, don't get me wrong, but it had these little perfect islands of clutter sitting in place like museum pieces. He then walked in and stared at it for like 5 seconds and then went, "Wait, what in the world is this?" I then said to him that I was just cleaning around his stuff like he asked, but he said, "Well, that's obviously not what I meant." And I said, "Well, it kind of was, because there was now a very clear outline showing exactly how much stuff he leaves there." He then got annoyed, and then his girlfriend came over later and saw this and started laughing so hard she had to lean on the door frame. He then ended up cleaning the whole counter himself so I could wipe it normally, which is what I had been doing the whole time. The best part is that he bought one of those like little plastic bathroom trays the next day, so apparently there was a better system available all along. So yes, there was a small little fallout, but now the counter stays way cleaner and I haven't been told to just clean around it ever since. Okay, honestly, having a roommate that's like unreasonable and unwilling to change is a nightmare, because you live with them all the time and it's like, holy crap, I really don't want to deal with you. I see you every single day and this sucks. Please just do stuff right. So with that in mind, I love the way the original poster handled this. They said, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna maliciously comply and make you look stupid. Let's clean around all your crap." And I can imagine them being like, "Okay, you want to be petty? Let's be petty. I'm gonna clean around this stupid contact case. Oh, your toothbrush is in the way? I'm gonna make a perfect outline like I'm a detective on the case." Like, are you kidding me? You practically made chalk outlines of all of his stuff. Like, that is really funny in my opinion. So yeah, this is a good way of getting him to correct his behavior and to start flying right. Because yeah, what you're saying makes complete sense and your roommate was just being stupid. This next story is proof that if you don't stick to your word, it's probably gonna backfire, as the original poster essentially like doubled back on something they promised to do for the girlfriend, which opened up a world of hurt for him and pretty much everybody involved. Here's how it all started. For starters, I'm a 22-year-old male and I will admit it. I had promised my girlfriend that I would drive her back home. But here's the thing, we had hung out at my place all day long and it had gotten late. It was midnight and I was too tired to drive her back home. It's also a 2-hour drive round trip, so 1 hour there and 1 hour back. And one time I had already risked my life on the way back from dropping her off, just struggling to keep my eyes open and barely getting by. Now, the reason I'm supposed to drive her back home despite the conditions is her dad. He doesn't want her to sleep at my place even now that it's been almost a year of me dating her. In fact, one time it was late and I asked to sleep at her place and he agreed, but only at the condition that she'd sleep in the bed with her brother and I'd sleep by myself in her bed. And yes, the ages I wrote down are correct. We're not teenagers, we're in our 20s. But now I feel guilty about not driving her back home. I did offer to sleep for 2 hours, wake up and drive her back home in the night, but that was also not an option to her because of her curfew. So a huge argument happened and we almost broke up, and her dad was pretty pissed off to get up from bed to drive those 2 hours to pick her up, and he even had to work the next day. But I guess that was less important than the loss of dignity and purity that would happen if his adult daughter fell asleep in a safe place with her boyfriend, who, by the way, she had been with for so long. So seriously, who's the jerk here? Because I feel like it's both me and the dad. It's my fault for not thinking of driving her back home earlier when I had more energy, and her dad's fault for being so controlling. Like, he would rather have her risk a car crash than letting her sleep in a safe space. But seriously, I need to hear other people's opinions. It's always good to hear other perspectives, and maybe I'm just fully in the wrong because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, dude, you absolutely are the jerk. This is insane. Like, bro, there are so many excuses just floating around this story, it's honestly annoying. First off, if you're responsible for getting this girl back home at like a specific time, then congratulations, you need to be the responsible one. There's no excuse of being like, "Oh, we hung out all day and I'm so tired. Looks like you have to spend the night." Like, in my opinion, it kind of seems like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get one over on the dad. I'm gonna stay out so late with her that she has no choice but to stay behind. Like, I don't know, it kind of seems like that's the vibe I'm getting here. Maybe I'm wrong, but it really seems like this was really manipulative, where it's like, yeah, you could have brought her home earlier, but it's like, oh, let's stay out later anyways. And also, in case you're wondering, original poster, there's no way in the world the dad's the jerk here. If you don't agree with him like not letting his daughter spend the night at your place, like sure, whatever, you can have that argument. But to lead on your girlfriend by saying, "Oh yeah, I'll give you a ride home," psych, just kidding, can't do it anymore, and then as a result, forcing the dad to drive 2 hours just to pick her up, like, my man, that is not a good look, and you are not doing yourself any favors. So yes, the original poster is absolutely the jerk. This was not the way to handle this. And I think if anything, you probably set yourself back like a few more months of winning the dad over, because clearly he can't rely on you and you're obviously not responsible. Today, I need to confess that I hate my daughter's name, and I can't even say it out loud without feeling sick to my stomach. And even though she's 3 years old and I love her so much, her name is something that her family picked out, and honestly, I hate it. And at this point, I don't know what to do. Here's what's happening. So my daughter is 3 years old now, and she's the most incredible little person, but every single time I have to call her by her name, it feels like a punch in the gut. When my wife was pregnant, her family went into absolute overdrive about naming the baby after her grandmother, who had passed away a year before. She kept talking about how much it would mean to them and how it was the only way to honor her memory. Meanwhile, I was just trying to be a supportive husband because my wife was so emotional and exhausted. So I just agreed to it, even though I always thought the name was incredibly old-fashioned and just plain ugly. And now here we are 3 years later, and the resentment is just eating me alive from the inside out. I find myself giving her a million different nicknames like Bean or Bug or literally anything else, just so I don't have to use her actual legal name. When we're at the park and I have to call her over, I feel this wave of physical nausea and embarrassment because it sounds so out of place for a toddler. My wife thinks that I'm just being dramatic, but she doesn't get that I feel like I lost a part of my connection to my kid before she was even born. Because seriously, we didn't even get to choose who she was gonna be. Her family constantly talks about how she looks like the grandmother, and it really makes me want to scream because she isn't a ghost or a replacement. She is her own person. In fact, I lay awake at night wondering if I should just push for a legal name change and then deal with the fallout, but the thought of the family drama makes me want to disappear. I love my kid more than anything, but I absolutely despise the word that defines her for the rest of her life. And I seriously feel like a monster for even thinking this, and I just don't know what to do. Okay, before I say what I want to say, first off, I'm so sorry to the original poster that they feel this way. This must really suck. I completely understand because holy crap, in-laws are the worst. They essentially hijacked the pregnancy and said, oh no, we're gonna name this kid after grandma. And yes, that name is super ugly. But on that note, holy crap, I want to know exactly what that name is. Seriously, that's the only thing going through my head was like, okay, I need to know. What is it? What's the name of that stupid kid? I need to know. I get it. I know you're really upset. I understand. But please, just tell me. I need to know. Some of my favorites from the comment section were Gertrude, Edna, and Bertha. Which yeah, gotta be honest, those names suck. I would be upset if my daughter was named any of those. And sure, I understand I run the risk of offending someone watching where it's my name's Gertrude. And it's I get it. I understand. I just think your name's ugly and I'm sorry. But yeah, this must be a nightmare for the original poster because every day they look at their daughter, they look into their eyes and they say, come here, Gretchen. And it's dude, I hate this. This sucks. My daughter has the name of a Disney villain. What are we doing? So yeah, maybe stick to a nickname of some kind if the name sucks that bad. Or be hey, I'm gonna call you by your middle name. And hopefully the middle name, if the kid has a middle name, isn't also a little bit stupid. Because that also would probably be super annoying to deal with. Am I the jerk for refusing to answer any of my parents' contractor phone calls after they keep giving out my number like I work for them? Because after getting call after call all the time, I feel like I'm at my breaking point and I really just don't know what to do. Here's what's currently happening because this is super annoying. Okay, to start things off, I'm a 31-year-old female and I live about 35 minutes away from my parents. For years, they have treated me like their built-in administrative person because apparently I'm good with calls and paperwork. Now, at first it was normal stuff. Stuff like helping compare warranties or calling the insurance company after a storm, reading confusing emails from repair companies, etc. And honestly, I didn't really mind when it was occasional. The problem is that sometime in the last 2 years, it quietly turned into them handing out my phone number to basically anyone who does work on their house. I'm not talking about emergencies. I mean the cable guy texting me at 8 in the morning to ask where the modem is, or the pest control company asking if I approve the quarterly plan, or that one time some random floor inspector was calling to say he's outside and nobody's answering. My parents didn't even ask at first. They just tell people, oh, our daughter handles all that. Now here's the thing, I work full-time in a clinic, so I literally cannot be picking up unknown calls all day to explain where their water shutoff is, or to describe what kind of paint they want. I have told them multiple times to stop putting me down as a contact unless I actually agree to it, and they say I'm overreacting and that family helps family. But last week, it finally blew up. My dad scheduled some bathroom work while he was out of town, and my mom had a hair appointment that morning. And apparently, both of them told the contractor to just coordinate with their daughter. Now, it's really important to note that I knew none of this, but by 9:15 in the morning, I had 6 missed calls, 3 text messages, and 2 photos of tile samples on my phone, all while I was working with my patients. When I finally checked on my break, the guy was asking if he should start demoing, whether the vanity was staying, and where the extra materials were. I then texted back that I was not the homeowner, I was literally at work. work, and he needed to speak to them directly. Well, this guy left, and my parents got charged a cancellation fee, and now they're furious with me, saying that I cost them time and made them look stupid. But I told them I did not make them look stupid. They volunteered an employee who does not exist. Ever since then, I've stopped answering any contractor or service calls connected to their house at all. Meanwhile, my mom says I'm being cold and dramatic over a few phone calls. But it is a lot more than that. It's the assumption that my time belongs to them because it's just easier. So seriously, am I the jerk here? Am I really out of line? Because I really don't know what else to do here. Dude, I can't believe that your parents are doing this and they still trust you, because if that was me, I would be telling those people, oh yeah, tear down the wall. Absolutely rip the floorboards up. Go for it, buddy. We don't need a back garden. Tear it up. Absolutely demolish it. Dude, after a while, I would start giving out crazy demands. If they're gonna completely just, I don't know, ignore me and be like, dude, I don't want to be a part of this. Please stop. Then I'm gonna give them a reason to stop, because this is just obnoxious, dude. They literally refuse to listen while you're just trying to do your stuff, man. You're trying to work. You're trying to see your patients. And they're like, oh yeah, you're gonna coordinate this. We're gonna need you to take care of our house while we go do anything else. Sorry, gotta go. Bro, maybe that's the answer. Maybe you just gotta sabotage their entire project, the entire system, and just be like, okay, I'm gonna start getting some really petty revenge here, because one day they're gonna come back and be like, oh my god, what did you do to our bathroom? And they're gonna see I don't know, Hello Kitty all over the place, in the tiles itself, and it's okay, well hey, you wanted me to coordinate it, this is what I wanted. Because I know I would absolutely do this, especially if they kept ignoring me. That might be the only way out of this situation. Am I the jerk for asking a bunch of women at my work to literally stop being so weird about taking a caramel candy from my desk? Because every single time they act like it's some big show and tell, and honestly, I'm sick of it. And at this point, I don't know what else to do. Here's what's going on, and honestly, things get just a little bit weird here. Okay, to start things off, I like to have snacks in my office, and I enjoy having something for people to take when they come in for a visit. I have a container of chocolate caramel thins open for literally anyone to take. The problem is that when many of the other women in my office take one, they do this whole song and dance of, oh, I shouldn't. Oh, it's so bad. Oh, but I just love chocolate. Oh, it's so naughty. And my god, stuff like this just annoys the crap out of me. Either take the candy or don't, but don't force me to participate in whatever weird self-deprecating thing you're doing, especially calling it naughty like you're scolding a child. I always just smile blankly and they look at me like I'm supposed to give them permission. Well, I finally had it yesterday. One of the women stood in my doorway and pointed and was like, oh, I love those caramels. They're so good, but I shouldn't. You're so bad for having these. I then said to her, can you stop doing that? It's really making me uncomfortable. But when I said that, she then pretended to not know what I was talking about. I then said, are you okay? You come in here and you act like you need my permission to eat a piece of candy. You keep calling it naughty like you're a little kid. It's super weird behavior and it makes me uncomfortable, so please stop it. She then gave me a weird look and said she was just being silly, and then said never mind and then left. I then found out later that she said I ripped her head off and warned one of the other women who's always doing that, oh, I want it so bad crap, to avoid getting candy from me unless she also wants to get scolded. Now, I'm not gonna stop having candy out because there are some people who can do it without the whole song and dance, but am I really the jerk for just asking her to stop doing that crap? Because it's really weird, and at this point I don't know what else to do. Oh no, that's weird. That's really weird. That also feels like borderline sketchy, if you know what I mean. It almost kind of seems like she's trying to get you to play into some secret agenda of how she wants you to act, and if that's the case, dude, these women are weird. Because guess what? Either take the candy or don't, bro. And for me personally, if they're gonna act like that, I would be like, okay, I'm taking the candy away. You guys are actually acting weird. And not just in a, oh, I'm socially awkward kind of weird. We're talking weird in a, oh man, I might need to talk to human resources kind of weird. Because the language they're using, and they're like, oh, you're so naughty. Nah, that's weird, dude. There's something else going on here that I can't articulate, but I think you know what I'm talking about. So no, you're definitely not the jerk. My parents literally stole $10,000 out of my savings account and are now refusing to give it back, putting me in a financial situation that I seriously just don't know how to get out of. Welcome back to Am I the Jerk, the only show where you can discover pretty quickly that your childhood was not nearly as bad as someone else's. And trust me, the first story I've got ready for you today is definitely that situation. Subscribe to Am I the Jerk if you haven't already, and click the bell to turn on notifications. Let's get started. Okay, so I haven't been able to post here for a while, but I wanted to get some advice from the the internet about my current situation. So to get started, basically I come from a really awful household. My parents have mistreated me both physically and mentally pretty much my entire life, and now that I've gotten older, they've shifted more to like the mental side of mistreatment. They refused to get my dysphagia treated, arguing that I was just being a sissy and all that crap. They forced me to eat a steak even though it was nearly impossible, and I nearly choked right then and there. And afterwards, they still blamed me. They also refused to tell me about my autism diagnosis, arguing, oh, it didn't matter. I mean, Einstein was successful. Just really awful parents. Think Everybody Hates Chris, but 100 times worse, always blaming me for things. Anyways, I had about $10,000 worth of savings for emergencies, but my mom took it from my joint account because according to her, oh, you shouldn't have all that money. But I was a legal adult and it was a crime. I should have made it my account only, but I didn't know much about banks when I first created it. And by the time I changed it, it was too late. My parents also took all my documents and passports and refused to give it to me. So I had to sneakily find them and take them so I could leave this awful household. Once I've gotten everything, I was ready to leave. But my parents tried to force me at the house by taking my phone by force. And then they chased me to my car. They then said they're going to get me arrested for, crimes I never committed, and also refused to give me my money unless I meet them. They said I should meet at a restaurant or at their place, but I have to pick one by this weekend or else I will never get the money back. They also argue that they'll find me any way they can because apparently finding your adult children isn't a crime. So seriously, what should I do here? I'm struggling paycheck to paycheck due to the severity of the situation, but I really just don't want to meet them because my dad has threatened me before, especially since I said I would get the police involved. They gave me $500 so I can at least make the trip to them, but I'm completely lost and just devastated. I've lost friends due to their libel and felt endangered, and honestly, it seems like nobody cares. They argue that, oh, someone took you away from us, but I'm tired of the mistreatment. What am I supposed to do here? I've been alone for months now in a deep depression as my dreams are just completely crushed. I think I should get the police involved, but honestly, I don't know how. I have recordings and messages that they literally stole the money, and I have the bank statements too. They even admitted this on camera thinking that it wouldn't matter. I have plenty of proof that my mom took the money, but she wants to meet with me and my dad who threatened me on multiple occasions. And sure, I'll win a case against them, but it'll take forever. Now, my friend said that I should meet with him at a restaurant and that he'll be my bodyguard, but I don't really trust that. So seriously, what should I do here? Because this is so messy. Okay, dude, holy crap, don't meet with these people. There's no way in the world I would ever go and meet up with my parents if this is how they're acting. So you mean to tell me they stole your money, they took $10,000 out of your bank account, your father threatens you, and now they're like, okay, you can either meet at our house or at a restaurant, to then presumably get your money back? Like, what are we talking about? No, that's not happening at all. Because guess what? If I was in your shoes, I would already be at the police station giving them all the evidence I have about your parents robbing you, not to mention your dad threatening you. Like, holy crap. This sounds like a really dangerous situation, bro. Like, I don't know. This is not okay in my opinion. But I think regardless of like the results of what happens here, I think it's super important to get away from these people and move on with your life. If I had parents like this personally, I would probably never talk to them again, but that's just me, because this is some seriously toxic behavior that you do not deserve in the slightest. If you like Am I the Jerk and what we're doing over here, please check out Am I the Genius. It's going to be linked down below in the description. Just click and go ahead and subscribe to them. And also, if you have your own stories you want to submit, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you want to submit your own stories. We're reading them all the time and we're picking out the best ones, so trust me, we would love to hear what you have to say. An entitled Office Max employee literally makes my life incredibly hard for no reason, as she's convinced the thing I'm trying to print off is illegal. And I really am just super blown away because this lady is incredibly stupid. Here's what happened. Okay, so I had to print out some papers at Office Max to take to the DMV yesterday because I'm registering an out-of-state vehicle. Now, for a bit of context, the car was my father's, but he gave the car to me, and I had to register it in my name and in the state that I live. Now, one of the papers I needed to print was a gift affidavit, which basically makes it so I don't have to pay taxes on the car sale when registering it since it was a gift. My father printed and signed and notarized the affidavit and then scanned it and sent it to me so I could print it and sign and just get it notarized too. But when I get there, the printer at the Office Max was not printing it out of my USB. The woman in charge of the printers working there asked me what I was trying to print. So I told her, and she then said to me that the state we are in does not do gift affidavits anymore for cars, and that's why the printer apparently wasn't printing it. But I told her her that we had just downloaded it from the DMV official website and that it's just a PDF, and how would the printer know how to print something that wasn't offered by the DMV anymore? But guess what? The Office Max employee persisted. They told me that I'd have to pay the full sales tax on the car and that the printer knows the PDF is illegal and that's why it won't print it. I then calmly told her that the printer does not have a brain and it cannot read what I'm trying to print out. Plus, it's not illegal to print a paper I got from the DMV official website, and that gift affidavit is absolutely a real thing. But she literally refused to help me any longer. I also told her that my dad had no problem printing it on his end just to see what she would say. She then came back with this banger by saying, oh, the printer already knows that he already printed it out, and so that's why it won't let me print it again. But then I said to her, okay, how can her printer at Office Max know that my dad printed out a PDF from his personal computer many states away? But she then looked at me and said, the printer knows when something is illegal. Well, I drove to the UPS store where they printed and notarized the form for me in under 5 minutes. Then I went to the DMV and I registered the car, and guess what? They accepted it. So yeah, my gift affidavit saved me hundreds of dollars, but the process of getting this taken care of was just a massive headache. Okay, if I was in your shoes, and maybe I'm crazy petty, but dude, I would absolutely make like 1,000 copies of that, go back to that Office Max and just start throwing it around the building. Or at least like show it to that lady and be like, you're an idiot and here's why. Because this is some weird behavior. The printer isn't some like all-knowing being. It's not some omnipresent thing that said, oh, you've already printed this somewhere else. I know that it's illegal. I can't print it again. Like, this is not the one machine that gains sentience and suddenly is like a cop. It's not some RoboCop printer, dude. It's literally just there to print off whatever I give it. I could type the word farts on the paper 1,000 times and be like, hey, Office Max, print it off. And the printer's not gonna have any objection to it because it's just a printer, lady. So for this employee to be like, oh, that's illegal. I can't believe you're doing that. It's illegal and it's not gonna do it. What she's really saying is, I don't want to fix this issue with your USB drive, so please leave. She's just a lazy employee. Like, that's all this comes down to. So for me, I absolutely would go back and prove her wrong and make a point of proving her wrong because she wasted your time in a way that was completely unnecessary. Am I the jerk for screaming at my nephew after he literally destroyed my very expensive drone that I'd saved up the entire year just to buy? Because now my entire family says I need to apologize for freaking out and that apparently I'm acting like a child over what they consider a toy. Because right now I'm so pissed off I can't even see straight and I just don't know what to do. Here's what's currently happening. Okay, so I want to start off by saying that I have wanted a drone ever since I was a teenager. And guess what? Last year I finally started saving for one. I worked double shifts at a cafe, I skipped night out with friends, I ate rice and beans for months, and I spent 10 months saving up my money. And after spending $420 of extra money, my drone arrived 2 weeks later. And this was the first nice thing I've ever owned. Now, my sister, who I will call Jenna, asked if she could stay for the weekend with her son, who I will call Leo. And of course, I said yes. I mean, I love my nephew. I showed him the drone, but I told him very clearly, do not touch it. I put it on the highest shelf in my closet and I closed the door. Well, yesterday, I came home from work early because I really wasn't feeling well. And when I walked in, I heard buzzing. I then went to the backyard and guess what? Leo was flying my very expensive drone. He had dragged a chair from the kitchen to reach the closet. He then saw me and panicked and then crashed it straight into the oak tree. And of course, the drone fell to pieces. The propeller sheared off, the camera lens shattered, the arm was cracked. I mean, it was completely destroyed. And even though I didn't mean to, at that moment, I started to scream. I just saw months of my life on the ground and I lost it. I asked him, why did you do that? I told you no. At this point, I was crying, he was crying, and my sister came out and started yelling at me for yelling at her son. I then told her that drone cost me over $420. I had worked 10 months for it, and that I had asked her to watch him, but she said, oh, he's just a kid and I'm being a monster over a stupid toy. She then offered me $50 for my troubles. Yeah, $50 for a $420 drone I saved a year for. I then just told her to leave. I said I never wanted to see her ever again. She then packed her stuff up and took Leo with her, and now my parents are calling me saying that I've destroyed the family. My mom says I need to apologize to my sister, and my dad says I'm being a child. My sister even posted on Facebook about how her awful brother screamed at her innocent son over a broken toy, and her friends are commenting that I'm a horrible person. Now, I haven't eaten, I haven't slept, and I just keep looking at the pieces of my drone on my kitchen table because this seriously has crushed my spirit and I just don't know what to do from here. Okay, dude, I don't care care what anyone says. If you break it, you buy it, especially when it comes to your kids. Why are so many people nowadays trying to sit there and be like, oh, I'm sorry, but you're being a monster over a stupid toy? Like, I'm pretty sure if you took her phone and slammed it on the ground and broke it, she would probably be pretty pissed off if you sat there and said, oh, what's the problem? It's just a phone. It's a stupid toy. Why are you so angry? But it's like, dude, I need that. I literally saved up for that. That's money I literally sweat and cried over in like the storage closet at like a restaurant I was working, which that's pretty real. That's happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to you at some point. Like, bro, yeah, you're definitely gonna pay me back. There's no way you're not. So her giving you like, okay, well, here's $50 for the drone. Like, bro, I would send her a full itinerary of how much it cost, the shipping, the taxes, literally everything that went into that. And I would be like, yeah, that $50 adorable, but you owe me, oh, what's that? Yeah, $370 more. Thank you very much. I accept cash, checks, and every major credit card. Please do it right away. Because there's just no way this is acceptable. If your kid broke it, then you need to pay for it. That's the only right decision here. So guess what? If I was in your shoes, I would stand on business. I would fight fire with fire, baby. I would start posting online as well and be like, oh yeah, my stupid sister refuses to pay me back for this. And then list out the pricing and pretty much all the specs associated with it. And then at that point, I would be like, see, mom, this is me lighting the family on fire, not my sister refusing to pay me back. So no, you're not the jerk. This is some stupid behavior. Your sister's being selfish. And the fact that anybody's supporting her is so weird because clearly there's a lot going on here and it looks like she's just a terrible mom when it comes to watching her kid. My husband booked probably one of the most disappointing honeymoons of my entire life, as I felt so neglected and just completely ignored that I ended up crying multiple times throughout the entirety of our trip. And now I'm upset and I really just don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, to start things out, I got married a couple of days ago and now I'm currently on my honeymoon. But holy crap, I'm so disappointed and upset about how it's going so far. First of all, my now husband insisted on getting the honeymoon booked back in December because he was worried that all the nice places would be gone. He was doing it on Christmas Eve when I was already busy and just a little bit stressed out, and I really just didn't understand why he couldn't wait just a few days to get it done. I know he just wanted to really get a nice place for us, but because I was busy, I didn't have much of a chance to give any kind of input. But I did ask for just two things: that it was secluded and it had a nice view. Well, we arrived yesterday and he had booked a small cabin in someone's garden with no view at all, and our view literally goes straight onto the house. The inside is beautiful and they are the pictures that he had shown me, but I had no idea that it was going to be in someone's garden. But guess what? He did know. So it's like, man, this is so far from being excluded, it's not even funny. All the windows face the house, so the blinds have been constantly drawn because the windows are floor to ceiling and everyone in the house can see us. There's even a little garden that looks into the living room of the house, so we can't even sit outside on our own. I'm just so uncomfortable staying in places where the owner is so visible already because I feel like I'm just being watched and constricted, but especially when we're supposed to be on our honeymoon. I walked into the place and I was so disappointed that I cried. And I hate crying and I felt so bad, and you know what? He was really apologetic, but I tried to get over it and move on and just make the best of it. So today, to make up for the accommodation disaster, we decided to splurge on going to a spa with amazing views. We were both very excited about it, but when we got there, he spent most of his time on his own in the super hot saunas, which I really couldn't handle very well. I went into one with him, and after 10 minutes, I finally got out, but he stayed in for quite a while afterwards. He would then join me for a few minutes in the pool or the hot tub before disappearing into even hotter saunas. I asked him to please come into a cooler one so we can sit on like the cute swing together, but he wanted to go into the 90°C one, which is just way too hot for me. And I want to jump in as the narrator real quick. Holy crap, 90°C? That's almost 200 degrees Fahrenheit, dude. Holy crap. Yeah, that's way too hot. Okay, back to the story. So instead of going in there, I waited in the cooler one, but then I got bored and I went for a swim and he still had not come out. When he did eventually come out, he immediately went outside to jump into a colder pool. When he then came to find me, we did a face mask, and then I said I wanted to spend some time with him, but guess what? He said he wanted to go back into the 90° sauna. Now, just to spend some more time with him, I went in as well, but I just couldn't stand it, and I had to get out, and he said he'd join me in a minute. Well, 20 minutes later, he came out to spend some time with me, but we literally only had 15 minutes left by this point. So I just spent most of our 3 hours on my own watching couples being all cute together, and I was just so sad. And guess what? I cried in the car again. And seriously, I really never cry. He was apologetic and admitted that he was being too independent and that he focused on his own needs and how he wanted to relax rather than thinking of it as like a couple's activity on their honeymoon. He wants to make it up to me tomorrow, but I'm honestly just so over it already. I just feel a bit stupid. I've been on a lot of holidays and even a different honeymoon, and I've never cried on any of them, even when things have gone disastrously wrong. But I've cried both days of our 3-day mini honeymoon. I just feel like he's been really thoughtless and not really taking what I want or what I'm asking asking for into consideration. And right now, I'm honestly not sure what to do. Okay, we've got some additional context here, which I think is really important, because it sounds like this was just a genuine mistake on the husband's part, instead of a series of consistent patterns that she's just now picking up on. It doesn't sound like it's something like that, thankfully, and instead it's just her husband being kind of stupid and being like, oh, I'm gonna go jump in the sauna again, see ya, instead of, I don't know, spending time with your wife and actually having a good time together. So to that extent, I don't blame you for being upset. I would be very upset as well. And I wouldn't feel too bad about crying. I kind of understand where you're coming from. I mean, this is really important to you. This is your honeymoon. This is supposed to be fun and between the two of you, and you're supposed to have a good time. So for him to run off and be like, I'm gonna jump in the sauna again, you know, the hot one you can't get into. See you later, babe. I'll see you in a second. Meanwhile, you're sitting in the pool okay, I guess I'll just sit here and I don't know, shrivel up. This is great. So excited to be, you know, spending my honeymoon alone in a pool, becoming a pickle. Oh, and by the way, let's go back to our garden cabin. Holy crap. This guy picked an Airbnb inside of someone's backyard. Oh, and by the way, there's windows everywhere, so have fun getting any kind of privacy. I imagine this is literally a shed and the owner's standing at their kitchen window, sipping a coffee, looking as you guys are in there just living. It's dude, this isn't a zoo, man. Please stop watching. This is weird. So yeah, your husband absolutely did this wrong. He completely missed the mark, but thankfully it doesn't sound like this is some kind of ongoing pattern that, oh man, you just now caught on to. Because we've read that before on this channel. That is a nightmare, and I'm so glad you're not in that situation. Am I the jerk for no longer wanting to give my sister and her friends rides in my car anymore? Especially after the way they reacted the last time I picked them up, because things are kind of becoming pretty toxic, and at this point, I don't really know what to do. Here's what's currently going on. Okay, so my sister and her friends were out on the town in a nearby city. It was close enough to take a train, but way too far to Uber for a reasonable price. Well, while she was out of the house, I had some friends over to swim, and as midnight approached, I heard my phone ringing from the poolside. My sister was calling, and she needed me to pick up and drop off all of her friends. Now, me not wanting to be a bad brother, I accepted. I ended my night of fun with my friends early, and I went and did this. I asked my friends if it's okay that I end the night. They accepted, and we all get out of the pool and dry off. But we had ended the night sooner than expected and decided to go to a local convenience store just to get some snacks and make the night just a little bit longer. Now, I, of course, call my sister back, and I tell her that she may have to wait at the station since I am hanging out with my friends, but we all want to go to the convenience store first. She then asked me how long it would take, and I say, okay, maximum maybe 20 minutes. And when I say this, she agrees with that as if it's no problem at all. So I leave the house, and on the way there, I think to myself, I could just pick them up first so they don't have to wait at the train station. It is the middle of the night after all, so it would be safer. They would still have to wait the 20 minutes just in the car now instead of the train station, and it also gives them the option to join us and get food and drinks at the convenience store if they wanted, which I figure they might want to because they're all coming back from a long night of drinking. So I make the call to get them first before I go to the convenience store, and I figured they wouldn't really mind since, you know, after it's all said and done, they should get home at a similar time and it saves them from having to wait outside at the train station at midnight. So I drive there and the train's delayed, but they arrive within a few minutes of me and my friends getting there. For reference, I take a separate car so that I can pick them up and my friends can go straight home afterwards. Now, all four of them come off the train and make their way to my car, getting in by opening all three passenger doors. I then tell them that we're going to the convenience store first before I drop them off, and at that moment, suddenly everyone gets quiet and then really mad. They start yelling and slam all three of the car doors they opened. They yell that, well, if they knew this, they would have just bought an Uber. But I said to them, okay, well, you can still buy an Uber. Also, you knew 20 minutes would be added to the time it took to drop them off anyways. Well, after that little explosion, I insisted on not driving them anywhere. But as time passed, I decided it wasn't a big deal. A few weeks later, I was about to agree to drive them again before one of them added a snarky comment about the fact that I might not be over what they did. And so after that, I then tell them that it's off and I won't be driving them. Now, to me, I'm standing on business after they disrespected my time and my car. But I've been thinking, and maybe I'm the jerk and I should just let this go. So seriously, am I the jerk? Because right now, I'm not sure what else to do. Okay, in my opinion, and this is just me, if you're gonna give a timeline of when you're gonna pick someone up or anything like that, it is super important to stick to that as it is. Because I found that any kind of deviation from that can result in this kind of behavior. I'm sure the ladies were expected okay, as soon as we get in the car, we go straight home, instead of having to wait 20 minutes while you go to the convenience store. And sure, the time's the same, I totally understand where you're coming from, but I think going to the convenience store first would have been the better decision. Because I know if I was coming off of a long ride and it's man, I just want to get home. The last thing I would want to do is wait while you go into a convenience store for like 20 minutes. Like, that sounds really annoying. I just want to get home and sleep. I'm tired. I don't want to do this. It's the middle of the night. Like, if you want to go to the store and get something beforehand, then do it. But at least be a good host and get me home first. And again, this is just my opinion. Like, hear me out. I just think this is the way you should have done it. But even that doesn't make you the jerk. I think you really were trying to be reasonable here. But on that note, I think your sister and her friends are absolutely the jerk. Like, if they're gonna get in my car and start slamming the doors and be like, I can't believe you're doing this. Like, holy crap, we need to chill out. What's happening right now? This is not okay behavior. You're not gonna talk to me like that. Like, in that instance, I would absolutely think that, yeah, it's appropriate to tell them that, no, I'm never giving you a ride again, especially if that's how you're gonna act. So no, I don't think you're the jerk. I think your sister and her friends acted like jerks after they found out they had to wait 20 minutes, because in my opinion, I think your logic is sound. You didn't have any ill intentions and you were just trying to do things the best way possible. But leave a comment down below. What do you think? Do you think the original poster was out of line, or is their sister really the one that's at fault? Leave a comment down below. We would love to hear what you have to say. My girlfriend brought her ex-boyfriend over to our house after a night of drinking. And honestly, at this point, I'm kind of crashing out because I'm convinced that they did something that would really classify as cheating. And at this point, I seriously don't know where to go from here. Welcome back to Am I the Jerk, the only show where getting drunk with your ex-boyfriend is always a bad idea. Hit the subscribe button down below and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Let's get started. Okay, for just a little bit of context, I had issues in my previous relationship where her ex was kept as a friend, and just to be brief, I got really hurt. So exes are already a sore spot for me. So my partner's ex recently moved to our city and hit her up, letting her know and asking to hang out with us, plus her best friend and her boyfriend. As far as I know, they don't really talk other than occasional like messaging to ask something specific, so they haven't really stayed that close. So it was a group thing where I'd meet him for the first time. I was down for that plan, but then today, my girlfriend tells me the plans are happening today, and she's going, but it's just the three of them. So the plan changed to uninvite the boyfriends without me knowing until the last minute. I then pointed that out, and my girlfriend offered for me to still join and explained this was so they could all reminisce on old times without alienating us. Now, I was hungover and not really feeling up to it, so I just said, meh, it's all good. The plan was just supposed to be 1 or 2 drinks to catch up, and she said she'd be home by dinner anyways. Well, dinner time rolls around and plans changed again, and now they're getting dinner and staying out later. And sure, I find it a bit annoying, and I'm autistic, so I'm not a huge fan of not sticking to plans, but whatever. I'm not gonna make a fuss out of it. I also feel it's worth mentioning here that my mental health has been in the gutter as of late. I'm currently dealing with combined work, family, and health issues that have just made it really hard to keep myself afloat mentally. I'm not doing very well at the moment, and she knows this. So I was quite upset after I got out of the shower that she wants me to set up our karaoke kit. Apparently, they're all coming to our place, and they will be arriving in 5 minutes. Now, holy crap, the house is a mess. I'm not mentally prepared to meet her ex-boyfriend or socialize or do any kind of karaoke as the only sober person, but now I've been signed up for it without a way out. Now, as I'm doing a quick vacuum before they arrive, I see the front light go on, so I open the door and it's just her friend. Like, literally, my girlfriend and her ex aren't even there, so I ask, okay, well, where is she? The friend then says, she's still in the car. And my God, when I heard that, something shifted in me. The two of them then emerge probably like a minute later together, and I say hello and all of that, but when I tried to give my girlfriend a kiss, it honestly just felt off. My gut is pretty much doing backflips at this point, and I have no idea how to act. They sit down, my girlfriend is pretty drunk, and they immediately pull out a bag of grass, if you know what I mean, and start doing bumps while I'm in the kitchen without even including me. I want to crawl out of my skin at this point. And then I sit down on the couch, and I just can't get like 10 seconds into a song without feeling like I'm about to crack and panic. So I go upstairs and try and collect myself. I then come back down and I try to play it cool, but I just can't. My girlfriend is trying to touch my back and my leg, and I just can't reciprocate because of how messed up I'm feeling. I eventually say, I'm sorry, but I'm just too sober for this. And I head back upstairs, and at this point, I'm on the verge of crying. Now, it's important to note that we have a doorbell camera, so I look back at that moment when I answer the door just to see if I'm being just a little bit crazy. But no, her friend is already at our door and waiting there while the two of them are still back in the Uber. I can't see specifically what's going on back there, but there's some kind of movement. I don't really know. They then 100% walk up together, and with enough time apart from her friend that the application split it into 2 separate like person detected clips, if that's any indication at all of how long they took. Eventually though, my girlfriend comes upstairs and I spill my guts on how uncomfortable I am with being thrown into this setting with no warning. I also mention what I saw in the doorbell camera, and I straight up ask what's going on there because to me it just came off really quite bad. Her her immediate response was a lot of "I don't know" or "I don't remember." So I said, okay, I can show you the video just so you know what I'm talking about. So that's exactly what I did. And guess what? I got pretty much the same response. She then asked me, well, what do you think was happening? So I told her that honestly, my mind was going to them kissing and I felt like crap even assuming that. She then said to me, I didn't cheat on you. And then what followed was more or less just me asking for some kind of answer for why they'd hang back like that and just some general reassurance at all, like please. But instead, what I got was a loop of, oh, I don't know what to tell you, I don't remember, which really didn't fill me with any kind of confidence. She then got extremely upset, which I can understand in either reality. She was also still pretty drunk, so I tried to just take her responses with a grain of salt, I guess, but I really genuinely just didn't know what to think, and at this point, I still don't. And I gotta be honest, it was then very difficult to see her so distraught and thinking that if she truly hadn't done anything, how horrible and hopeless she might be feeling. She said she feels like I'm putting her on the stand and that there's nothing she can do or say. Her reason for bringing him over was because she really wanted us to meet. And I just explained that her responses of, oh, I don't remember, just don't sit well with me. And the night as a whole was pretty awful for me for the reasons I've already explained here. Now, as I think most would, I want to just believe her, but I really just don't know if the information that's being presented to me is somehow proper justification for feeling so insecure and wondering if she's breached our trust. So seriously, with all things considered, am I really overreacting here? Is something shady going on here? Because my God, I don't know what to do anymore. Okay, dude, I am gonna say it right now. I think your girlfriend cheated on you, bro. She did something in the back of that Uber or when they were out drinking that she definitely regrets. That, by the way, you're smart to catch on to. And now instead of giving you like some serious answers of like, oh no, nothing happened, absolutely not, we were just out having a good time, like that's it, or anything like that, she wants to look you square in the eye and be like, I don't know what to tell you, I don't know what happened, I don't remember. And it's like, dude, what is going on right now? There are so many red flags here, it is disgusting. First of all, why would she uninvite you to like this get together? It seems like the plan went from, oh, we're all gonna go as a group, to then suddenly, oh, we're uninviting all the boyfriends, but you can come too as well, which by the way is code for her saying, I don't want you there. If anyone says, oh, you can go to this thing as well, that is not an invitation to come along. That's them saying, I hope you say no because we don't want you there. And why would your girlfriend not want you there? Because she wanted to cheat on you. Like she went out with her best friend and this ex-boyfriend, and I guarantee you the best friend knows what happened. And they decided to like hang out and drink and kiss and do all the stuff you don't want her doing. And now they're back at your place against her better judgment, trying to be like, oh, I want you to meet my ex-boyfriend. You guys should meet and be together. But it's like, dude, you clocked it immediately. You're like, this feels off. What happened to you? Did you kiss the guy standing next to you? Because I think you did. I think you had some kind of tussle in the back of that Uber and now you're feeling guilty. Or maybe you're not and you're drunk and your inhibitions are down and you're like, I'm just gonna do it. Why not? We used to love each other. Let's just get together again. I don't know, dude. I feel like I'm the crazy guy standing in the corner next to the wall with like the red string running across the room. She did it. I know she did it. I can prove it. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong. But in my opinion, the evidence lines up, bro. I absolutely think your girlfriend cheated, but it really sucks because we have no evidence. Like, aside from like a hunch, which is really not enough information in my opinion. But dude, you could figure out what like place they went to and do some detective work. You could go there and be like, hey, can I see the footage from your restaurant of like my girlfriend being there with her ex-boyfriend? We're gonna zoom in on that footage like CSI. We're gonna figure out exactly what happened. But that's just my theory. Like your girlfriend's being super suspicious and I just don't think there's anyone in their right mind that would be like, oh yeah, you're innocent. You didn't do anything, honey. I think you're telling the truth because I totally think she's lying. Because at the end of the day, I think it's so weird to be this close with your ex-boyfriend in a way where you guys are comfortable getting drunk next to each other. That is a recipe for disaster, and I think that may have happened in this situation. But what do you think? Leave a comment down below. I would love to hear your theories about this because there are some juicy little tidbits in here that I think we all could kind of dive into. If you like Am I the Jerk and what we're doing over here, please check out Am I the Genius. It's going to be linked down below in the description. Just click and go ahead and subscribe to them. And also, if you have your own stories you want to submit, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you want to submit your own stories. We're reading them all the time and we're picking out the best ones, so trust me, we would love to hear what you have to say. My dad's new wife was 2 hours late to a dinner I prepared specifically to meet her. And at this point, I'm honestly feeling very disrespected and pretty much tricked by my father, as he made me make everything from scratch. And at this point, I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so I recently found out my dad is getting divorced and remarried. I found this out, by the way, after interrogating him about a phone call he had with my little sister, where he was having dinner with another lady. And also, this is confirmed, but there's no overlap in the relationships. So my God, this isn't as messy as it definitely could have been. Now, the divorce hasn't come back yet, and he met this lady like 4 months ago, and he's planning on getting married in 2 months. This lady has 2 daughters, one who's 7 years old and the other who's 12. And also, as a side note, this would be his 3rd marriage. So he's not divorcing my mom, but rather my stepmom of 17 years. So my timeline for meeting this lady pre-wedding was very short. I go to college out of town, so I'm extremely busy during the semester, especially because I'm looking into a postgraduate program. Since it's spring break, I decided it was now or never if I wanted to even meet this lady. But when I got home, it all kind of kept crashing down on me. I basically argued with my dad my whole time there. From the fact that he took his sweet time to tell me about the divorce, to the fact that he's marrying a new lady he's only known for a couple of months, or the fact that this lady has kids and he hasn't been that good of a dad to his real kids, so God knows how he'll manage the kids who aren't even his. He also keeps making this look of disgust every time the kids are brought up, as well as the responsibility he would be taking on, which only irritates me even more. Like, what's the rush? The divorce isn't even back yet. And so, with that bit of context out of the way about my dad, this is where the real problems start to come into play. Recently, I asked my dad if he could take me to my favorite restaurant. It's a bit pricier than stuff like fast food, so I don't go often since I am a college student and I've got no money. And he said we could go with his fiance and her kids so that I could meet her. And to be honest, I really wanted to go to this restaurant. So, putting aside the fact that I was not mentally or emotionally ready to meet them, I went ahead and just agreed to do it. So the next day I woke up and he said that instead of going to the restaurant, his fiance was coming over to the house to cook pasta from scratch. And at this point, canceling would look way worse because it's literally the day of us meeting up. Also, I had already pretty much made up my mind about meeting them, and my God, I just wanted to get it over with. Some hours passed and my dad comes up to me and asked me to start making the pasta sauce from scratch. I then told him, okay, well, isn't your fiance going to cook it? But that's when he told me that she couldn't come super early, so we should just start it for her since we're not doing anything else. So I go ahead and I make the sauce. Then he tells me to start the actual pasta, saying, oh, my fiance just won't have the time. So I make the pasta too. And mind you, he keeps telling me that they're all gonna be there at about 5 o'clock. So everything's ready, including me, at 5 o'clock itself. Well, an hour passes and I tell him, okay, wasn't she supposed to be here at 5? But then he lies to me and said, oh, I said a later time. Then finally, at 7 o'clock, she arrives with only one of her daughters. I guess the older one just didn't feel like coming or something. And no, there was no explanation or literally anything. She did briefly apologize for being late as she was leaving, which is why I know my dad was lying about setting a later time. Now, on top of the dinner, I also plated her child's food, I did all of the dishes, I cleared the table, I literally did everything. And my God, after she left, I was livid. My dad was really happy because of the wonderful impression I made and said that I should be happy too. But my issue is the fact that this whole, oh, let's meet up thing was never about me meeting the woman my dad was going to marry. It was about the woman my dad is going to marry meeting me and approving of me somehow. Like literally, I was the one being tested. I'm the one who's negotiable. And that's why she didn't gaffe about how she presented herself. I told my dad this and he says I'm overreacting and that I'm being silly and all this other crap. My mom also says that I'm an idiot for going and doing all that work for him. But it's like, okay, how do I say, no, I won't cook for you when his hand is completely messed up? Which is true, by the way. My father has a hurt hand, so he can't really cook or clean or do stuff like that. But seriously, all I wanted was my favorite food from my favorite restaurant, but instead I got this. So honestly, am I overreacting here? Should I just call it a day and be happy I ended up looking good? I don't think anyone else has been this disrespectful to me ever in my life. I've never made a whole meal from scratch before, and I can't believe the people I made it for didn't show up entirely, since the oldest daughter just no-showed. And secondly, they were 2 hours late. Isn't that just straight up rude? Even in our culture, which is a show up late culture, I mean, 2 hours is a bit overkill for dinner, right? Honestly, I don't know what to do. I'm very upset and I just don't know how to handle this. Okay, honestly, I think everybody in the comments of this post pretty much had the same opinion, but I also share it, and that is basically that your mom's right. You should not have gone through all that effort for these people because holy crap, she did not care about your existence. From the sounds of it, she was like, oh, sorry about being late. Anyways, where's my food? She then gobbled down the pasta and said, thanks, I'll see you later. And it's like, dude, what in the world is going on? You do not need to impress this person. She clearly doesn't care about your existence, and it's like, oh, okay, this is just that type of person. And holy crap, your dad's a massive jerk. You could have gone to a restaurant where it's like, oh, it's good food, we can all eat together and have a good time. But instead, you got stood up for 2 hours by this moron that your dad's marrying, while you're the one who cooked everything from scratch, which, by the way, I have to say, if someone said to me, okay, make pasta from scratch, I would be like, hey, we're gonna starve. What do you mean? What? I don't know how to make anything from scratch. What do you mean by that? I would have been panicking so hard, dude. There's no way I would ever be able to do that. So no, you're not overreacting. If anything, this is like a good litmus test forecast of what this person's going to be like in the future. And in my opinion, I don't think she's going to last. Your dad's an idiot for getting married that soon. And just based solely on first impressions, I don't think this is going to last. And honestly, I don't think that's your problem to deal with. My mom is demanding all this money from me despite the fact that I am broke poor, putting me in a situation that honestly, I just don't know what to do next. Here's what's currently going on. I want to start off by saying that I'm a 21-year-old female and I just got my first paycheck. I've been living at home since I graduated in July, and I graduated with about negative $3,000 in my bank account due to health reasons. The job market is brutal, and I finally got a shop assistant role in March, and I just got my first paycheck today. My workplace offered me full-time, but then they did a 180 and said they can only offer me a maximum of like 15 weeks. Well, my mom's been demanding about $100 for bills ever since January, but she knew for a fact I was on benefits and only earning about $300 a month, so I had no money to pay her as I was also trying to pay back my overdraft. She's been talking to me less and less, saying that I'm cheating her and that I'm a wicked child. So when I got my first paycheck ever of about like $483 for the month, I sent $300 to her, and I just feel so dejected and pathetic, because I literally only have $183 to live on for the next 30 days. Not to mention that traveling to work is $8 each day I'm in, and my mom doesn't even live in our house. She's usually on holiday 9 months of the year, and then just comes back for holidays, so it's just me and my student sister, so I literally have to pay for toiletries and groceries and all this other stuff. There's not even central heating in our house. Like, me and my sister have been in the cold because our boiler stopped working, but it's not my mom's problem because, you know, she isn't here. Now, I gotta be honest, there's not much to this. I just feel really down and angry at myself. I was crying to my dad, and he said it's my fault for sending her so much, but my mom has literally stomped on my head before because of an argument about $50. So I didn't want this to continue any further, as she would despise me by the time she's back in May of this year. I know life is hard and I'm as much to blame as my mom, but I just can't seem to shake off this feeling because it's honestly eating away at me. Okay, dude, if I was in your shoes, I would be finding any way possible to move out. Like, seriously, I would get out of there with my sister and be like, okay, we have to find anywhere else to live because this is crazy. You're living in an empty house and presumably your dad's not helping out. So it's just you and your sister freezing in an empty house with your mom freaking out and being like, I need $100 a month. And it's like, dude, your mom is being crazy right now. Now, when it comes to the whole like, oh, she stomped my head in over $50, I don't know if this is like legitimate or not, but if it is legit, then I would definitely call somebody up or like get the authorities involved because that is not okay. No one deserves to kick your head in over money like that. So hopefully this works out for you and hopefully your living situation improves in some kind of way because your mom sounds crazy and I don't blame you for being stressed out. Like, I think any reasonable person would be stressed out in a scenario like that, and hopefully it all works out. Am I the jerk for no longer wanting to help my neighbor out with taking care of their packages, as they literally have instructions to the delivery driver to bring any packages to my house if they're not home? But after literally doing this for way too long, I'm kind of at my breaking point and I just don't know what else to do. Here's what's happening. Okay, for a bit of background, in the past, I would take in my neighbor's deliveries. At first, I really didn't mind. However, it kind of got to a point where it was really getting ridiculous. For starters, they were ordering packages and leaving to go on trips, knowing they would be arriving and not asking if it was okay to take them in. In fact, sometimes they would order things while they're away and then tell the delivery company to bring it to my house. Which, to step in as the narrator real quick, holy crap, this would make me so mad. Like, would you be pissed off about that? Because I know I would. Anyways, back to the story. They were also not coming to collect their packages despite knowing they were in my house. Like, they would have a card left over at their place and the delivery information updated to show where it was. The packages also tend to be like massive boxes, and they'll leave it in my house for like a week, and one time even up to 3 weeks. And this is even if they're home. Like, I was constantly having to bring them over to them. But the icing on top is that in the past couple of years, they got 2 ankle-biting dogs. These dogs bark non-stop. They have gone at me when I was walking on the street and have even tried to attack our mailman. One also tried to attack my partner while he was parking his motorcycle in our garage. And it's like, bro, I literally don't know how it got there. But all that aside, the last time my door was knocked on, I made it very clear that I'm not taking in, signing for, or taking responsibility for my neighbor's packages. I then sent the delivery driver away with the package still in their hand, and I told them to take it up with my neighbor if they have any kind of issue. And let me tell you something, that did not go over well. Fast forward, and today I hear repeated banging on my door, and I see a driver on the camera. I ask my husband if he has ordered anything, and he tells me straight up no. Now, I remember that I'm waiting on a package to arrive today, so I answer the door. The driver's just stood there, card in hand, massive box at his side, inside and tells me that my neighbor is not in and left instructions for the parcel to be brought to my house. But guess what? I straight up looked at him and I told him I'm not taking that. Absolutely not. This guy then tries to take a photo of it in my open doorway, but I closed the door in his face. Like, dude, you're not about to pretend I've taken the package in and I'm not going to be liable for any missing orders. And at this point, I'm now at my wit's end with this. Like, I really am. Of course, I could have been like the neighborly kind and accepted the package and then stored it for however long it takes, but it was a flat pack box and I just really don't want that inside my house. I'm heavily considering having a stern word with my neighbor about using my address for deliveries. Because guess what? I don't care about being neighborly as we are planning to move this year anyways. So seriously, am I the jerk at all for refusing to help my neighbor out? Because it really feels like I'm getting taken advantage of and I just don't know what to do anymore. Okay, dude, there's no way in the world I would put up with this. Holy crap. You are being way too nice here. Here's what I would do if I was in your shoes. Like, I would go over there and be like, look, the times we've had together are great. I really appreciate you squeezing every ounce of kindness that you've been taking advantage of out of my body and just using me as your own personal P.O. box. It just feels so good. But it's gonna stop now because the next package I get is gonna be lit on fire in my front yard. Like, I don't know, bro. Like, I would never trust pretty much anybody with my packages unless they were like family or someone I know really, really well. Not some random neighbor that I'm like, oh, you can do it. You can watch over my packages while I'm on vacation again. And it also begs the question, like, why are these people gone all the time? I understand traveling for work, but it sounds like these people just don't live there. Like, do they not have a job? Like, where are they going on these holidays? There's so many questions. But regardless, them expecting you to like handle all their packages, all without being paid to, by the way, is crazy. Like, I don't want some giant box just laying around my living room for the next who knows how long. And the part that really kills me is that they are literally home. Like, you could probably see them peeking through the kitchen window just staring at you, and it's like, okay, I'm in a pile of boxes and I hate my life. Please relieve me of this weird prison you've put me in. So no, you're not the jerk. These people suck. They're taking advantage of you and they literally just don't care, and I think it's time to confront them and say no more, because otherwise this is just gonna keep happening because they literally don't care about your comfort. Thanks for watching. Subscribe down below if you haven't already. And also, please subscribe to Am I the Genius? I think you're going to love what they're making over there. It's a great channel and you should definitely check it out. Everything will be linked down below in the description. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.